Yeah, you can
2
wait a little bit if you want.
seconds.
Right.
No, it's all right. I like to start these things promptly, and like honestly, I think it's like an issue I'm probably gonna need. I think what I need to do to solve it is I need to like get the Verizon person to come here and move in like the Wi-Fi to be like closer to my computer so I could just Ethernet connect it. I think that's my big problem. But you know, fingers crossed that you know, if people have trouble on YouTube, then I will let them know to.
Yeah.
It's funny. I did an internet speed test and it said it was good. That I should be good to go. Yeah. Oh my
People are
god.
asking questions.
All right.
And
So
this is one I actually really like because someone's asked, "How do you think 096 would work in 5K?" Dude, I would love it, but lore-wise, we can't do it. 096 is Shy Guy, if I'm right, and yeah, he is overused, but he's overused because he's fucking cool.
all right.
But
So
it's going to be one of those things that I think he's going to get modded in, if I'm honest.
So, welcome to everyone. This is the Affray Community Showcase game night. Well, not game night, but a hangout session. We are here with Dean, the 3D artist, lead 3D artist. So, tell us, Dean, what are you working on?
Today, I thought it would be interesting to talk about some environment art for everyone. I saw some people asking about it. So I thought I'd take you through the process of how we get from concept art to what you see in game.
Yes, let's have it to it. Give us a run through. How do you turn that artwork into 3D?
Well, first off the bat, planning. Planning is everything, man. If we don't plan this, it goes awry really quickly. So, bear with me and we'll sit through it and ask questions as we go, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. So, you guys, I think, have seen this before. I've seen it a couple of times, familiarized myself with it, and now I just need to try and pick out the pieces that we need to make. Thankfully, with these kind of environments, the kind of style that we go for architecturally, this brutalist theme, it's starting to kind of pull itself together, and it's quite nice to make. It's fairly simple shapes, but it's still quite interesting, so I really enjoy working on it. So let's go. So normally what I'll start by doing is my brush size up, please. Thank you. Let's see. I'll do it. Let's go for 20. Yeah, I'll do. So the first thing I normally do is start picking out some of the kind of major forms and pieces that we're going to need. This is going to be one of them. It's going to need its own thing. We don't have anything like that yet, so let's see. These are going to be needed. Those could probably be a repetition of that. That's fine. Gonna need one of these. Those are nice and easy, flat walls. Gonna need a piece of railing here as well. Corner piece, this kind of thing here. Alright. So from first glance, that's pretty much all we need to make that environment, which is really nice. A lot of the kind of set dressing stuff here, if I start another one. Let's see if you could leave me alone, Photoshop. Get away. Away, please. Thank you. This would be things that are more props. So we won't be making those today because those normally take a little bit longer. As much as I would like to. Maybe if we've got some time, I'll show a little bit. All of this stuff here is props. What are we saying?
We have an interesting question from the Discord. Might we see any weapon SCPs in the future? I'm thinking stuff like the living gun.
We were actually talking about this last week. I don't know how much I can say. There was a lot of plans we had to do stuff like that because we have a lot of guns. We love our guns, but something different would be an SCP based gun, and I think it's something we would like to do. It's just whether scope permits or not. And I have seen some ideas float around, so.
How has like Affray managed to like put out in so many guns? It's really impressive for like, a game of a game that's relatively not in the scope of something like say Counter-Strike 2 or Call of Duty, but it has like 60 weapons or like 30 plus main primary firearms. How did Affray pull off that magic trick?
I think it comes from having a team that love our guns. Like, modeling guns was how I started in 3D. That's what really got me into doing 3D. And it's the same for a lot of the other members on the team, like Samir. Samir's our gun guy. If we need a new gun made, he's normally the one I'd task. And he's super quick, and he's got it down to such a fine art. Like, and the knowledge that he has for guns, it makes it so much easier. They're one of the easier things for us to make, believe it or not.
It's funny that someone was also mentioning. Do you guys handle the real steel firearms? And yeah, I've got some clips. I need to make a compilation. But there's some great footage from during GDC. They a bunch of guys went to the firearms and they actually got some Foley sound effects and were doing some firearm practice. So,
so not all of the team is US based. Like, I'm based in the UK. I live in Scotland, and sadly, getting access to firearms is just something we can't do. The closest I get is airsoft. I've been playing airsoft since I was like 10, so that's where most of my gun knowledge comes from, and just whatever I watch online. But Anders, I know our lead animator, he does IPSC shooting, IPSC, so he handles real firearms like quite often. A lot of the other guys in the teams, especially the US based ones, they handle a lot of firearms. But it's a passion for it. Like, shooting guns is fun. There's something about the mechanics of them that's just engaging.
That's what good old USA was founded upon, the glory of how fun it is to shoot guns. And whatchamacallit, SCP is fantastic gunplay. So everything you're marking in red, these are all like props that you'd have to build separately outside of the core 3D design?
Yeah, so what I've done is green is what we would call modular pieces. So they're repeating shapes. So from these ones that I've highlighted, I could pretty much make up this entire room using these pieces I've highlighted in green. They're all repeating shapes, quite similar. Whereas these things here in red, these are things that may need like a high poly to be made. They'll probably need their own texture sheet, and they'll need like reference gathered specifically for that, like for a briefcase. Oops. For a briefcase, like, we're gonna have to go find a bunch of pictures of briefcases, understand how they're made, how they're put together. Someone's gonna have to make a high poly version of that that's really high detail, and then we make a lower poly version. As with all things in games, you take really cool art and then make a version of it that sucks, so that everyone can play the game without their frames absolutely tanking. Most enjoyable part of every 3D artist's journey. Something you spent 400 hours on and make it look shit.
I have an interesting question from Lolcropter. Please add a Chris Vector to the game. I am not 3D skilled. What does that mean? What is a Chris Vector?
Chris Vector is a SMG. You can get a 9mm version or a 45 caliber version, but it's quite an interesting firearm. It had quite a different gas system and a different type of bolt that was quite interesting. It's something we keep our eyes on. Like, always suggest guns, because we're always looking for guns, and we do have a list of things that we do want to add, but there is a point where we do need to stop.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't see names because I have Discord streamer mode enabled, just in case. But someone there is asking, are you guys worried about getting sued by H&K for your beautiful MP5s? They went after Activision and made them butcher the MP5 in Modern Warfare 2 and 3. No, we are not, because we did not make a H&K MP5. It's not actually an MP5. It's at ZF5.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, if there's any questions that like seem appealing to you, feel free to answer them. I'm keeping a watch on the Discord and the YouTube stream. Trying to find a good balance because I love hearing you go into your flow state and explaining the process, but also love making sure people feel like they're heard.
That's all good. I like to check over and just see what people are doing because you never know. Like that one exactly, for instance. It was a good question. How do you guys get away with name-branded guns? Cool, like the Galil and Tavor specifically marked with real IWI markings. We have people on the team that is their job to secure that for us, so that we know before we start making something whether we have to make a derivative or we can make exactly the right one. They're all licensed, all above board, exactly the way it should be. And we're not risking that.
That is an aspect I never really knew. I always thought that like
dude,
I don't know, a gun was like
a will destroy you.
Yeah, like a gun was a pipe, and you weren't gonna get like it wasn't like having Pepsi in a movie where you have to have the licensed rights or the beloved drink of Conch and Beppis.
Yeah, that's you need to be careful with that kind of thing, and it's especially for like when you come from a modern background, you can kind of do whatever you want because I don't know, you're doing it for free, you're never making any money. But when you're doing something like this, that's like a sold product, you need to be very careful. You can't be just throwing other people's logos around and stuff.
Why do I have the perfect commentator voice? Years of practice and lots of video essays. I have studied the best. I've made many a video essay, and that's where it comes from. But I'm glad you like the commentator voice.
Marty McFly asks, "Are you the one that I have to thank for the sus soda in game?" I'm not. No. We've actually started opting lately. We used to do this thing where we'd come up with fake brands, and it's fun, and they always end up kind of memey. But something we've been opting for lately is sometimes certain things look better unbranded than fake branded, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I don't know.
I don't know what it is.
One of my favorite social media clips is like just KSI playing SCP 5K with like his brother Deji, and then they walk in and say like, "It's Beppis and Conch! Oh my god!" Yeah. So I think that there is like a charm, but that is interesting. Like, have you ever heard of WickDonald's?
No.
So in like the 90s, all animes did like instead of having McDonald's because they didn't want to pay the licensing rights, they would just invert the W and call WickDonald's instead of McDonald's. So if you go in a bunch of 90s and early animes, you'll see WickDonald's. And McDonald's got savvy to it. So they did a whole little promotion thing where it's like, "Oh, come to get McDonald's," and they have this like spicy chili sauce for McNuggets, and a whole anime manga themed for the fake brand. And it was one part charming and also kind of like a little cringe. I couldn't quite figure out if I loved it or hated it. But it's an example of like a fake brand translating into the real world.
Mm-hmm. It's nice. It's getting kind of meta. Everyone's just kind of blurring into one these days.
But that is interesting, though, to hear from an art designer perspective that you think that like having it unbranded is almost more immersive than having a fake brand.
No. Where we go here? Somewhat like the art direction Alien Isolation took with more military-esque mark products. Yeah.
So I guess at what point do the process after you mark up these environmental stills, sort of like the areas that you could model, when do you start like building it in 3D? Do you like open up Unity or Unreal and then start kind of like building up the space? When is the magic point where this translates from 2D design to 3D?
Pretty much at that point already. It went a lot quicker than I would think, which is nice. Because it's quite simple in the way we've designed it. Now, like we're kind of going for this cohesion of this brutalist architecture, And it's super nice because we can bust out new rooms like this really quickly, and they've got this like right aesthetic for the SCP, like Area 12. But from what I can see here, there's nothing that I haven't spotted yet. So I'm pretty much ready to start blocking out pieces. I wouldn't do it in Unreal Engine, maybe depending on the environment, but I cannot stream the actual editor, so I'm not going to risk that.
Oh, is there like a legal reason you can't stream the editor? Or, like
NDA, my dude, NDA. The editor, especially the way I work in it, will be filled with leaks. So
for shame.
Even right now, when I'm about to jump into Blender, I'm a little bit sketchy. Like, what if I hit like load recent and you guys see something you're not supposed to? So I need to be very careful.
Well, it's funny. Previous week, who was it? We had one of the sound guys. Why am I blanking? It wasn't Venny. It was the other sound guy. And he like was opening up things, and he was telling me, "Oh my God, there's all these little leaks." So I had to go back into the live stream and use the YouTube to blur it out. So feel free if anything happens. I can go in and blur the VOD.
Yeah, we should be all right. I opened up most things in preparation just to be sure I wouldn't need to go around looking for other things.
I know whatchamacallit. It's funny. The community just wants us to leak everything, but
Yeah.
the top brass, the O5 Council of Affray, wants to have people to experience it naturally in the wild.
It's one of those things. Like, it's exciting when you think you might see something before it's done, but it's much more exciting for us as the devs to see you guys see it for the first time in game and working. Like, if all goes to plan and this update comes out and it's solid the way we want it to be, which is why we pushed it back. Like, it's solid, it works start to finish, you get to see all the new content, it's fresh. That's so much more enjoyable for us to like see than you see a bunch of things leaked and then you're like, oh yeah, I know, I saw that on stream.
It's true. Well, that's such an interesting philosophy. I'm of the opinion that when I like something, I just want spoilers, and like if I hear a good spoiler, it makes me want to see it more. Just because it's like, oh my God, this is a cool thing. I want to see it, but ultimately, it's to respect the wishes of the what Affray wants and the experience that they want to give to players. As much as you guys want leaks, they like to make sure that it's something that you don't have ruined for you, and you can experience it fresh and have that aha moment. So a question, we've got USA, Germany, Belgium, Italy, Israel, and Russian firearms. Any chance we'll see Japanese ones? That new HOWA Type 20 looks extremely schmexy.
Yes, it does. I have my eyes on it. I can't say much more about it. So yeah, I can't say much more about that one. So that's your hint.
So explain what are we in Blender right now? What are we blocking out? Blender.
First thing I'm blocking out is these steps. This is like the biggest form. It's the thing my eye gets drawn to the most. So that's where I'm going to start.
Just for all of you eager people who love seeing game development and wonder, why does it take so long for an update? This is why. This man is crafting this step for you from scratch.
The idea is, like, with the more we lean into this kind of architecture that we've really settled on, it'll start to snowball a bit. Like, we can really reuse a lot of these pieces, and that's the goal. So let's see. A lot of it's kind of eyeballing. Like right now, I'm just got my UI guy in here for scale, and just kind of base everything off of that. Because of Unreal Engine, this guy's like, is he over 6 foot tall? I think he's 185 centimeters.
So he's the kind of like scale. Has it ever dawned to you to like maybe use SCP the surgeon crab for scale? This hallway is 8 crabs long.
Yeah, that would definitely throw things off. You're gonna get some skewed perspectives if I start using the crab as a reference.
I'm canonically taller than the UIU guy. Noted, says North
Nice.
Star.
Lucky for some. That looks really steep. This is the other thing with concept art as well. It's because the concept artists are a lot more free form. Like Yi, the guy that made this concept art,
Mhm.
he does a lot of this in Blender. So I probably could have pulled his file, and sometimes we do that. I'll pull his file out and we'll rip the pieces out of that, and it'll speed us up. We're obviously not going to do that for the stream because it's not as fun. But when they're
This is
painting
the
over things,
handcrafted thing.
yeah,
That's interesting though. He didn't. He made that in Blender. He didn't like do that in Photoshop and like
yeah. So
pencil it out.
he'll start like this in Blender, and he'll start blocking things out like this, and then he'll go over and he'll hand paint to like add colors, add the right like theme and vibe. The lighting's all hand painted, add a bit of texture, that kind of thing. You can see brush strokes when you really get in close.
Ooh, very elegant.
Yeah,
So
it's really cool.
this reception area, I don't think it's coming in this update, right? The one you're
Not
working
in this
on.
update, no. No.
Yeah, I imagine that would be a little bit of a nightmare. Yeah, we're getting this gameplay area. 2 weeks
No,
until the launch, and we're crafting it up so it's nice and good for
no,
you.
no. 3D team is all done with their work for the coming update. It's mostly bug fixing, making sure everything's just as tipped up as we can possibly get it before anything goes out. So we're working ahead at the moment. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of doing the same thing here. It's one of those things I also want to reply to you guys, but it's kind of hard to do two things at once.
The height was 6 feet. Someone was asking what I think you said it before, but just to repeat, how many centimeters is the Mr. UIU? 100 and
He's 185.
185 centimeters. So use that to your scale, 6 feet. He's got those Chad proportions. I'm sure. I don't know. Isn't what the kids are all saying? Mewing to get the jawline or something where you like face max.
So I know I'm getting old, man.
I just love finding new dumb internet slang and throwing it at people. But there you go. You can know if you're taller or not than the UIU.
It's a pretty tight slope. I think that's just too tight.
So we have another interesting question. Are there any guns you don't want to add to the game?
Any guns I don't want to add? Nothing jumps to mind.
There's no
I
gun
don't
that
think
would
there's
be
anything that
like
jumps
a
to mind.
nightmare to add or just would be hard to implement. Like, I don't know, some crazy
Nah,
Half-Life gun, some like proto laser gun.
that stuff it's very different from modern guns that exist, because guns that exist you can a lot of information on them, and the more information you, the easier it is to make. Like when you're modeling a gun, it's a lot of people when they model guns, their first gun, you can always tell because it's lack of understanding of how the thing actually functions. The more you know of like how many rounds is kept in the magazine, is it a single stack magazine, is it a double stack, what's it chambered in, how does it actually function, is it like like a 1911 for example, 1911 single stack magazine chambered in 45 ACP. The barrel doesn't tilt when the slide goes back. You know where all the features are on it, how all the buttons work. Like the more you know about that kind of thing, the more accurate your model is going to be.
Mm.
Whereas modeling something like a pro laser, you have no idea what the fuck that is. So you kind of go and make it up, and that's where concept art comes in. You really got to work with everyone to see where the safe space is. Like,
One thing that always kind of made me sad, speaking of gunplay, well, I guess as a 3D professional, where do you think the guns in Halo stand for you? Are they like kind of like top of the line? Or do you think that they're lacking? What is your opinion on the state of Halo guns?
I was never a big Halo guy. I'll be honest. Um, I do like their assault rifle. It's pretty cool. But I'm not the greatest with. It's kind of funny working on a sci-fi game, but I'm really picky with my sci-fi. Like when things get too laser-like, I lose interest.
That's when
Personally.
you, because one thing I loved about the very first Halo game is I always thought the weapons were super creative. Like, they had the
Yeah,
Needler, but then like
Needler's cool.
every installment from them, the guns got less fantastical and like more like some of them were like the power weapons, which was like, oh my god, this thing locks on and shoots little tiny rockets. How cool is that? Oh my god, this is a machine gun that shoots a bajillion bullets.
Yeah.
But like, there was never any like alien weapons that felt as creative as the Needler, and that always kind of made me sad.
Dude, I play a little bit of Infinite every now and then, and I love the Spanker. Spanker's probably my favorite gun.
Well, that's like
It's a massive skewer, man.
the rocket launcher or the brute.
Oh, that's the wrong one I'm thinking of.
Uh,
There's one that fires like a massive like skewer. It's like a one-hit kill.
yeah, the brute spiker.
Yeah, Spiker.
I know what you're talking about. It's like basically like the monkey equivalent of a rocket launcher, and it just one hit kills everyone and does incredible damage to vehicles. North Star asks, add gum jams. Just kidding, please don't.
You're gonna regret that one.
Wasn't there like there was a game that added it that the people hold in high esteem, Far Cry 2, where your gun could like jam and break down.
Far Cry 2 got so much shit at the time, but it's a really good game. Like the more you used your gun, the more it degraded. It got really rusty, and if you didn't swap it out or like get a fresh one, it would just jam in the middle of firefights. That was like the coolest shit I'd ever seen when I was a kid.
Nobody ever stole from it, but people like it's funny how like some mechanics are like, oh my god, why did you do this? And then you've got this like connoisseur wine tasters of gaming like, oh my god, the immersive map, the fact that you had to pull out a map and that was how you like looked around when you were driving, and the malaria and the destroying degradable guns.
The malaria was the worst idea they ever had. Oh. It was cool, but Jesus, that drove me nuts, man. I remember being towards the end of the game and getting in a firefight and running out of fucking malaria tablets. It's like, what the fuck am I doing in my
life? It's always interesting. Like, what is the difference between a fun player mechanic and inconveniencing it? Like, what should we call it? What was that game that everyone absolutely loved? That like was kind of like tedious. I guess Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. But I was also thinking of another game with like a tedious mechanic, but it's dropping my mind. But I always think it's interesting. Oh, that's what it was. It was the Fallout hardcore mode that they introduced in New Vegas, and I think all the other Fallout games have it, where they actually like count the ammo of your bullets. So it just becomes this survivalist nightmare. But some people really love hardcore mode.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for games that kick my ass, like Stalker, Gamma, Escape from Tarkov. I've got like thousands of hours in Escape from Tarkov. Why? I don't know.
It's got that undefinable loop that just like makes you really, really, really interested. Like gets in the back of your head. Mr. Glitch asks, "Does the Black Moon howl?"
He's gonna hate me, but I don't get that reference.
Oh no! From my understanding, that's like a really deep lore SCP reference. You should have asked the writers. They were here last week. They could have told you if the Black Moon was going to howl.
Trying to keep up with SCP references is wild.
There's so much stuff. Such a
like the amount I had to learn before I started this job.
It is very overwhelming. What's so funny though is like there's two camps. People in Affray fall into two camps. They're the people who love SCP, and then they're the people who like tactical shooters. Thankfully, that is a combination of peanut butter and jelly, or Reese's peanut butter, chocolate and peanut butter. It's a combination that goes well together.
Yeah. Wait there, why are you giving me grief? Come
on. People are asking railings. How do you add the railings to your work in progress 3D?
Railings to this. All right, so kind of what I'm doing right now is try to piece it out how it's going to work. So based on this profile, I can see it's got a bit of a divot here. It comes down, it's a bit thick. I don't know what it looks like on the other side, so I have no idea. So that's free to interpretation. So I can see here, it's fairly straightforward. Really, what I would do is go look for some more like in-world reference. That's the best thing to do. Right now, I'm still blocking out, so I'm not too worried. But let's say, just get something in here for now. And I'm working on the grid a lot as well because it just makes our lives easier. It's a pretty thick railing, but we'll go with that.
Friendly Alien asks me, what do you think our chances of beating Bird's runtime? Of my Bird, very much, since my Bird's very terrible at playing SCP-5K. Of the guys who are at the top of the leaderboards right now, I don't know, very slim. They got a very impressive under 20-minute run. And you've got like I don't know, 6 hours to like clock in and get it upload it. So get in there. The SCP speedrunning competition. We had one of the champions in here, Marty McFly. I don't know if he's still in there, but right now his group, they are the top spot. Will anyone beat them? I don't know, but you've got some time. You got a limited amount of time. I want to see some speed runs. So get in there, speed run the game, break it. Let's see if you can.
I really wish I wasn't working as much as I am at the moment and could take part in that speedrun just for fun. I used to do speedruns when we used to test, because obviously when we're testing a lot, it's a tough thing, but you're playing it all the time, so you know all the ways around, and I help build the level, so I know where things break and where I can get away with things.
The speedrunning community is
that I do that I haven't seen anyone do.
Oh, well, maybe if you get a chance, you'll have to watch the see if they found some skips that you weren't aware of.
I don't know what my actual time is, but the cinema anomaly, I can do it in probably between 5 and 8 minutes, probably less if I'm pushing it.
Ah, well,
straight in, straight out, not a death. Like one of the things I'm really proud of.
What do you do the trick of like looking at the ground?
Nope.
Okay, that is impressive because like one thing I really enjoyed when watching the speed run is they looked at their feet and they just knew the level well enough that they knew the path that they needed to take, and I thought that was hilarious. I don't know.
It maybe helps a little bit, but it really doesn't. I don't think it saves you much. There's like. You could speed my time up because of the path that I take. I'm kind of stuck to. I don't really do it as a speedrun thing. It's just a straight through. But if you use different cinema rooms, you could definitely do it quicker.
Yes, ketchup packets. There are people who speedrun 5K. In fact, there's a speedrunning competition going on right now. If you want to win the SCP 5K plush, the prototype plush, but get it before anyone else, you better get 3 friends and get into it.
No.
But the speedrunning is a very interesting culture. Like, how far can you push a game without, before breaking it? Although in the very early days, were you doing a lot of testing for 5K?
Yeah, a lot of the developers test. We've actually got some QA now, which is really nice.
I know. They got a QA guy. He's got it running like an absolute champ. He's got the D-class tester group just like breaking down those levels. I certainly hope that extra level of polish is something you appreciate. Our apologies that we didn't meet our deadline, but Shigeru Miyamoto.
So close, man. So close.
I thought it was
really, really worked their asses off, and we were so close, but all of that work would have been undermined.
Yeah, exactly. It was really ambitious to ship half the team to go hang out or go visit GDC, and then expect them all to internationally and be able to pick up. I'm not surprised, but it's always better to have something that was refined, polished, and tested than something that was rushed. And hopefully that's something you will all appreciate once it goes live on the 29th. Iman Kenstada, the next update is coming April 29th. So look for it then.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, very soon.
Yeah, that works. So this is a fun trick we do. Especially for these modular pieces. Like, we'd normally use a tile of material on this just to kind of speed things up. So what that means is this is your UV square. I'm hearing budgies, man.
Yeah,
Put the
that's
budgies.
my bird. That's Captain Crunch. That's this is the
Captain
time of
Crunch.
most of the time he's pretty quiet. My apologies. Other times though,
That's all good. Don't worry about it.
you know, it's kind of like the end of the day, and that's his uh calling all my flock mates to come back home. But you were saying about interchangeable pieces before Captain Crunch decided to try and overpower you.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll use tile and textures. So if I get an example here, let's go. Helps if you can spell thing. Righty. So this is Quixel Bridge. A lot of people probably know about Quixel. It's a free resource. It's really useful. It's free resource if you work in Unreal Engine. So, say a lot of this is concrete. So, let's go for concrete. There's so many concretes, man. You need concrete for days. Sometimes we'll make our own. Sometimes we'll use one of these. Depends on what it is. Let's go for this one. I'm not signed in, so I don't want to put my details on stream signing in. So I'm going to yoink that over here.
Iman Kestata asks a very interesting question. Can you guys add a riot shield to the game? What is your personal philosophy on riot shields?
I hate riot shields. I absolutely despise them. But that being said, that is in a PvP context. In a PvE, that's different. As long as it has a function, I think it's the riot shield in PvP just has a function to drive me nuts, and that's why I don't like it.
You don't think it's fun to run in Call of Duty with a riot shield and like a little pistol and just like kind of
Nah, man, put your fists up and fight me like a man. Drives me nuts.
You don't think it's cool and tactical? Or you just think it's kind of like
Nah, it's just annoying. They know it's Mimi. They run around with nothing but a riot shield and fucking throwing knives, man. And they're like looking at you like hee hee hee. It's like, come on, put that down, fight me.
So I guess I don't know if it's too spoilery. What do you think the chances are we'll see a riot shield in 5K, or do you think it's like too outside of the design philosophy right now of the game?
It's definitely not too outside of the line, the design philosophy. It's a case of what's its purpose? Like, really, what's its function? Do we really have a need for something like that? It would need to be. It's put me off. I should fight me like a man, average fucking Scotsman. Yeah, pretty much. It's it needs to have a purpose, and say something like 1262 spares, for example. That might be a good thing to have a riot shield against. So there, now we have a reason to have a riot shield, but you can't have everyone having a riot shield because that's like a free pass to just walk through without getting hit. So they need to be. If it was me and it was my decision, it would be hard to find. You need to do some sort of puzzle or fight something tough to get that as a reward. You get that, you can pass through 1262 untouched. I don't mind being added, dude. It's a stream. It's all good. I've got streamer mode enabled, so I'm not getting pings. Don't worry about it.
Well, Atlantis was asking, what do you think of jacket potatoes?
I like jacket potatoes, man. Anything that you can eat really quickly and on the move, as again usual Scotsman. So Scotch eggs, fucking amazing. Jacket potatoes, like they're just a perfect base to put anything in. Like you can throw mac and cheese on a jacket potato and be happy.
For me, who is not, fluent outside of my dumb Americanness, what is a jacket potato? Is that just like a baked potato, or is there like
Yeah,
something...
baked potato. Yeah.
Okay, so it's just like another term for baked potato. Interesting. I had never heard that term before. I was just thinking, is that like military jargon? Is it like MREs?
Nah, just a baked potato. All right. So let's see. I should have now. Casting subdue. So this is to go back to where we were. It's a tile and material. So if I give this a quick Smart UV project, just it ain't showing up, and why?
We have another
Of course,
question.
something breaks.
What's your main gun when you play? What's your favorite gun in the game so far?
Oh, depends on the situation. I think I quite often go to the ZF5 because I like building guns that I have in airsoft. Like I spent a lot of time building my kit. I have Noveski AR-15 that's licensed by Noveski. I fucking love that thing. It's a gas blowback. I have an MP5. I have a 1911, 2011. I have a Glock 34, HK416, an AS Val. So I like building guns that replicate my airsoft ones because it's more fun. So I'll probably switch between any of those: MP5, AS Val, M4. One gun I never really touch is the Galils. Don't know why.
Any particular reason?
Nah. I think it's just something I just kind of don't pick. It's the same with the Tavor. Tavor's a really cool gun. It's just something I don't pick. So maybe I should pick them more.
One thing that is, one thing I can't wait, and this might be a really interesting question. Do you have any guess when you think we'll see more multiplayer levels added? Because the gunplay is so good, it's a shame that there's only one level for PvP right now.
We talk about this quite a bit. Quite a bit. It's for those of you that wanted to see me do more 3D. I'm sorry, but I'm answering questions and I can't do two things. My brain doesn't allow me. But it's something we talk about quite a lot. And I don't know how many of the team we've got in here. We've got Anders, Timter's there, I think, maybe. Yeah, he's still there. They'll tell you that we talk about this pretty much every day. But PvP, as much as we like testing it and we have a lot of fun, it's a good break. We need to focus on the main campaign at the moment. That's really where our priority is. Like without that, we don't really have much else. And we want to step away from doing the kind of sandboxy thing. Like we're really going full steam ahead on the campaign and everything in the story that's coming.
So
we don't want to leave. PvP's never an afterthought. We think about it all the time.
So there you go. They want to build the levels, but what takes the most time and is the primary moneymaker is just getting that finished, polished campaign with as much content as is humanly possible. So that is the focus. Maybe there'll be that one day, that brilliant day where that campaign has reached its crystallized 1.0 form, and then the designers and 3D artists can just go wild making levels. Because I guess, like, hypothetically, how long would you say, like, it takes to build a multiplayer level?
Depending on scale. Say you were talking like a 5v5. Say like the one we have right now. If you were to make that from scratch, like, holy shit. When you see what I'm doing right now, like, obviously I'm going slow when I'm actually working. I'm pretty zoned in and doing the thing, but there's concept art. There's level designers need to actually come in and design the flow and grey box it. So they say that we're doing like a 3-lane map. They have to figure that out. They place a lot of grey boxes to get the flow of the map. Does it make sense? Are the angles too much? Is one side going to get overpowered by the other? They'll do that. That'll probably take them maybe 2-3 weeks of just testing, iteration constantly. While that's going on, concept art are taking those grey boxes and drawing over them and coming up with like this kind of thing. Like concept art, try to find like what can we do with this space that fits the theme and the aesthetic, and what kind of props are going to appear in here, what kind of storytelling you got, because that's what makes it more engaging in an environment like this. As much as it doesn't seem like much to maybe the average player, this is a storytelling element. Like, people were here, people had their suitcases packed, people were going to leave, someone was getting rid of files and shit went down, so they dropped this card and bolted. That's another part of level design where someone has to come in a final pass and place all that. And then you get the 3D team that's always involved, making all these pieces and all these textures, and then you've got lighting. Like there's so much to getting something like that done. It takes a long time.
It's so interesting because, like, on one part, I feel like maybe this is just me being a novice layman dummy, But I feel like, it's just a multiplayer level. You just make a bunch of boxes and have people run at each other and shoot each other. It doesn't take that much thought. But I guess that's why I make probably terrible levels that would be miserable, and why you are a consummate professional.
It's yeah, there's an art to it, and there's a lot of the technical side is always the tough part. The art side is the fun bit, but technically trying to get these things to work, trying to make sure it doesn't kill people's computers. Like even something as simple as this staircase, right? It's a weird thing, but I know it's all blocked out. I'm feeling bad because I was hoping to like actually do more like fancy art stuff, but that seems like a pretty wide staircase, right? If you were to assume that your stairs are going to run like up this way, that's your actual steps. Like you need to fit 4 players on that staircase at one time. So we need to stretch dimensions of that so that it fits. It's small things like that that you don't think about, but as soon as you block it out, thinking, yeah, that makes sense. That's real sizes of steps. And then 4 players in PvP trying to cram up that staircase, you're like, nah, that's a nightmare. They don't fit. It's little things like that that always catch you out. There's so many little facets to making it work and feel good.
We've got a very we've got something very interesting. So we have this gentleman Atlantis says, I don't get in bed permrooms, so can you tell Wolf to rate this? So I'm going to download these images. Apparently, these SCP themed 3D images, which I will put in the I'm going to put them in the events discussion area, and I would love to hear your what your thoughts are. So give me a second here. Image 1.
How do you combine the gameplay and realism when they conflict with one another, like the staircase? How do you make it work gameplay-wise, but also appearing realistic? Whoa, there's no like concrete document I could give you that's like that's exactly how you do it. It's constant iteration, it's constant testing, and someone running up that staircase in game and going, yeah, it's too thin, and then I have to readjust the mesh, then we replace it, then test again. It's now it's too wide, like bring it in a little bit. The more you do it, the more we kind of know. Like, for example, we have standards on a lot of our like meshes. Like I know when we make walls, we use a plane, and that is 2 meters. And our texel density, which is a whole different thing, but that's for every 2 meters, there is 2048 pixels worth of like texture data for like concrete or wood, whatever it may be. And a lot of your walls are built out of planes like that. We have tools to speed that up in engine, but that's pretty much what your walls are made out of. And then you've got like doorways are built pretty much they're that by that. Boom. That's not correct. Okay, never mind me. It would be so there. So we get a doorway, for example. Let's say you would need to have a 4-meter piece. It needs to be 1.5 meters, and I think it's 2 meters tall. So that's your doorway gap, and that's like our standard. Fitting like multiple people through that doorway. Maybe. Oh, right. What we got? Let me see.
Mr. Glitch asks, I think it looks really good. I would love to see how you build that in Roblox.
This isn't Roblox.
That's what he said. He said he built it in Roblox.
This is sick. I wonder what your limits are in Roblox.
Yeah, it says made in Roblox engine. So apparently, this is Atlantis's work.
It's nice. It's got a lot of again, like similar thing to what we were talking about here. It has a lot of that nice, like detail, that depth see all these shadows you get out of that, and it's something simple, just as putting an insect cube in there. You can go too far too quickly, but this is nice. Gives a nice little bit of lighting, bit of shadow to pop in. There's a nice use of concrete here against the greenery, and then the wood. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I'm impressed. That's Roblox.
So,
I see shading issues. Ha ha ha.
Mr. Glitch has a interesting question. New question: what do you think of SCP-17330, aka what happened to Site 13? I don't know if you have enough SCP knowledge to be able
Probably
to.
not.
I assume
My
you'll just.
SCP knowledge is fairly limited to what is needed for this game, and probably the things that most of you would cringe at of like your normie SCP stuff, like Shy Guy and Peanut.
The basic bitch thing that like you know.
There's a poster somewhere in the education center with the screen anomaly that is a direct quote from me. It's like, I thought my SCP knowledge was decent until I started working here.
Until you get into the real Dr. Theron Sherman would be embarrassed to be around you, Mr. Poser.
It's constantly learning. There's so many things, and even just the story itself of 5K, ignoring like SCP 5K, the game that we were working on, just the actual story of 5K, like that took me several watches and readings to try and fully understand. Crazy how much is going on. I apologize for anyone that wanted to see some really cool 3D. I'm getting nowhere with this. Embarrassing myself. Promise I'm good at 3D. Really. I've been doing it for a long time. Right. I'm going to try some fancy stuff here. I need to make a 45-degree piece. I'm assuming it's 45 degrees. So what I'm going to do, run a loop. I'm going to cursor to selected, origin to 3D cursor. Right, let's try this with a mirror. Let's see. If I take my origin and rotate that 45. Oh. Not quite what I'm looking for. No, not quite. Right. That'll work. So we got in a corner, and I also need a bird jump scare.
Yeah, there you go. Five Nights at Captain Crunch's, where he just
5 Nights at Captain Crunch.
That's the new $1 billion kid-friendly horror franchise, where you just have to go to a place and babysit Captain Crunch, but then he just keeps on screaming during live streams and ruining your Riz, or whatever the kids say.
Man, Vinny says stuff like that all the time. I learn all the kids' language from Vinny.
all the If Captain Crunch gets too loud, let me know. I'll put him underwater and see if I can quiet him down. That's always my tip for getting Captain Crunch to kind of be quiet as I wash him.
Right. Okay. So I know I haven't done like a lot of cool 3D stuff, but you can see here, like, even with these pieces that I have, although they're really simple, you can very quickly lock in this kind of shape that we've got going on here. So even just with like 1, 2, 3 pieces, you could get a decent balcony going, you know? And there's a couple of little like edge cases like this one here. It's kind of hard to tell, but I'm pretty sure that there's like a line there. I get my epic pen out so I can draw. I can see a slight change in the angle there and here. So I'm assuming that that is like a 45-degree angle. Well done, dude. 45-degree angle piece.
Mr. Glitch asks, "What do you?"
Assuming-
Oh, sorry. You're
No,
thinking.
go for it.
Mr. Glitch asks, "What do you think of SCP containment breach?"
I love containment breach, man. That was my first ever experience of SCP. That was back in the day, man. When that, I can't remember what age I'd have been when that came out. I was just
Well, it was recent. I thought
maybe like
Containment Breach
13,
came
14.
out. Oh, was it really? Was it that long ago? I thought it was like 2001 it came out, or
Maybe
maybe
that
I'm.
long ago. It wasn't that long ago. I was 13, 14. What? Calling me old? I think it was quite a while ago. The original.
Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm just thinking of the version on Steam versus the Containment Breach, which is like a much older prototype game. But
Oh, hold on. Containment breach. This one.
well, isn't there another one on Steam? I guess maybe that's like a more advanced version of that.
Is that Secret Labs? Secret.
There is Secret Labs, but there's another one, Containment. Well, that's one thing I need to figure out is to run a game night where we play Containment Breach. Because I know you can have like a lot of people in it, like up to 65 people. All right, so April 12th. So that is old.
I would have been 16 when that came out. A while ago. Doesn't feel like that long ago, but it is.
It's amazing how time flies.
Yeah, I was the year before I started university.
Oh wow, you started university at like 17 years old? Did you get in early, or is it just
17.
like in the UK? Because like typically you're like 18 in the States when you start university.
No, it was pretty normal. I think it was just the way it worked out because my birthday's in October. I think I started school when I was like 3, maybe 4. So it was just kind of the way it worked out. Like the year ended and I was still 17. So when I went to uni, I wasn't of legal age to drink alcohol. Not that anyone knew that.
Oh, that's interesting. So people are telling me in chat that the Containment Breach that's on Steam is the multiplayer mod, while the original is just kind of, I guess, the base game. That I did not realize. Tacit has a very interesting question. How do you decide if where to divert from the concept art when building out the 3D environment? Didn't 173 come out in like 2007? Yeah, I think 173 is like one of the earliest ones. But that is an interesting question. When do you decide to like stray from the concept art when you're building 3D environments?
Yeah, that is a good question. When I decide to stray, probably gonna stray a bit on the steps. That's the only thing I can think of so far. I was kind of paused on those for a bit because this is quite a steep slope. And here I have to think about this is something the player's going to interact with. They actually have to go up these steps. So if I make that slope too steep, it probably won't work. So although it looks cool in the concept, they're quite like large, daunting, steep steps. I may have to actually extend those back a bit so that our in-game like player functions well with that. So sometimes that can change how the concept works. A lot of this is pretty. I don't think there's anything else in here that jumps out to me. It's like, nah, I just can't do that. And I can do this. I just need to adjust a little bit because the scale is a little iffy.
Do you think
Just iteration.
the rest, just out of curiosity, has there ever been an art design where you just looked at it and you're like, oh my god, this is going to be a nightmare to build? What has been the most difficult environment to 3D model, and like what made it so frustrating?
The most frustrating thing I've ever had to do environment wise, and it's definitely 12.6.2. like this large plant-like creature that just overtakes environments. It's it's really cool, but it's also a big struggle because you have to hit that balance of like say this is an environment that we looked at, and I look at this and I'm like, oh yeah, this is sick. And then someone's like, yeah, wait, hold on, because in the game 12.6.2's turn right up through the middle of this, and it totally changes the way you approach everything because you have to hit that right balance of like 12.6.2 is here and he's there for a reason. But you also have all this other art that you don't want to be overshadowed by 12.6.2. He can be quite a struggle. I say he, they, whoever one. It can be quite a struggle.
Plants have no gender.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. Like I feel like that would be like a fun thing to model because it's kind of like very Resident Evil. Didn't Resident Evil have that classic plant monster?
Yeah, when I first saw it, it really reminded me of like Plant 42 from Resident Evil. But in actual practice of making it, you have someone sculpting like large vines, and then they have to retopologize those large vines, and then you have to unwrap, bake, and texture it. And then because to keep level designers sane, like if they had to place it all by hand, it would be an absolute nightmare. So you need to make what's called a spline mesh. And a spline mesh needs to be, say, let's see if I got a cylinder here I can just pull. Yep. So make a spline mesh, especially for 12.6.2, it's a nightmare. But so that there, say that's like 10 meters. He needs to be okay. Well done, dude. It's throwing me off a little bit. He needs to be fairly evenly given topology, so that when you run a spline, like say your spline runs like that, for the mesh to follow the spline, it needs to be quite evenly dense. Otherwise, it starts like bouncing off and doing really weird things. So to get that nice curve to follow, it has to be evenly spaced. And then you route that in with the fact that when you've done all this like high poly detail, let's see if I can do something. Whoops. Like say you started like drawing in all these vines. Normally be doing ZBrush, I've never once in my life sculpted. But you've done all this like mad vine stuff that's going on. You need to retopologize that to keep the silhouette so that it bakes down well. So you need to route your like that's a mess. You couldn't use that. So you have to redraw all these lines on it. And someone has to go in by hand and follow these lines. And where do we put these quads? How do we put these faces along here and here? They're probably gonna have a triangle, so I'll need to route another line there. Maybe it's a triangle, maybe it's a quad, not sure. So someone goes in, does all this stuff, keeps the flow clean. And that's your spline mesh that gets baked down. Like there's so much work goes into like a small piece that then gets routed throughout the whole level.
Ah, I see. So it just becomes like a something simple that just like keeps on getting more and more complex. Oh, could you turn up your microphone a little bit? Someone on YouTube was saying that you're a little low.
Maybe. Might be able to move it a bit closer. It's at max volume. It's just quite a distance. How's that?
Hopefully they will say that they can hear you just fine. But let me know if you can hear Dean a little bit better now. Not everyone has like a Shure 7MB podcasting mic like myself for my vein.
Dude, I've got this is a like a Bear Dynamics stage mic that I got when I was like 12 when I used to play in the band, and it's still going strong, man. This thing's been bounced all over the place.
Oh dang! It sounds like it's a very sturdy piece of work. It is held. It is held.
10 quid. I think that's like what, $18 or something. Can't beat it. Hopefully. What's this? What program is that painting thing? Oh, that work I was just doing. This is still Blender. That is. Oh, you mean this? Yeah. This is epic pen. Really handy, especially in my position. I don't know if the other 3D team can talk, but because no one here works in an office, it's epic pen. Because no one here works in an office, it's not like I can, like, Tempter's working on a character. It's not like I can nip into his like cubicle and point at his screen and be like, yeah, you need, like, this is how we should do this. I can't like be in the room and talk with him. So often I'm drawn over like Discord streams a lot.
I can attest to that.
Yep, there he is.
Dean has come in clutch many a times with epic pen.
Oh my
It's the best way
god!
we've found.
We've got another Affray person in here talking. Why don't you introduce yourself? Why don't you talk about your role in the Affray special? Take it away.
Yeah, take the heat off me.
I'm Tempter. I'm single. I'm ready to mingle. I'm John. I'm the character artist.
Here we go. John and Dean, 3D men,
This dude.
here, ready to rumble, here to
Some of
talk.
that stuff.
Did you make this UIU gentleman, this Chad gentleman who is 6 feet tall, that we are seeing right
This
now?
specific one is a kind of like a Frankenstein.
Yeah, he is.
Actually, only there. What did I do? The shirt, the pouches,
Hold on. I'll bring in.
and that's and some stuff on the helmet. Dean, you did the gas mask.
Yeah, the gas mask. Here you go. Man, I wish Blender wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
Just,
there's the pants. Yeah.
You know, just bring in one skeleton at a time. Nah, it's going to bring in every single one. Let's see what we got here. So yeah, John's responsible for this dude.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, the heavy. Heavy.
Heavy.
Captain Crunch approves.
Heavy. Did I just?
I think so. I saw it somewhere, like in the.
We've been in for
modded
ages, so-
channel, I think.
Do you remember how long this took you, John?
God, there was so much learning involved. Like, just learning the One Piece retopo method that we were shooting for. That alone was just like banging my head on the wall till it worked. I don't know, man. Anywhere between, like, honestly, like 4 months, 5
Yeah.
months.
In total, yeah, for all the variations.
Yeah, for all the variations, yeah. And
The,
of course, as like time went on, it got quicker and quicker.
the console asks, you guys should add a pipe bomb to the game because that's literally the most UIU thing ever. Is a pipe bomb in the future? Is it possible? Because I know the UIU is kind of like a little bit of a joke, although I know the SCP 5K is kind of trying to reform them, make them as cool as possible.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see why we couldn't. We have like throwables. We have like M67 frags. So
Yeah. Oh, Dean, they're
when
asking
they
about
ask is
character
Barney.
randomization.
Barney loves some pipe bombs. Oh, curious to see as to if there's eventual plans for character randomization in the sense of player character models having different gear on or variations in appearance height. You're looking at it.
The height thing, probably no.
Height, probably not. Height is a nightmare because this guy isn't a skeleton. Some of our zombies do that. You'll get different heights, which is really nice because you're not always like, you don't know exactly where head level is every time. That's something we've done to try and break that up a bit. But scaling bones is always a bit funky. Never something you want to play with too much, and because you play as this character, like adjusting their heights is kind of nasty. Like, imagine if you played one time and you're 6 foot, and then you died and respawned, and then you're 5 foot. Kind of weird.
Interesting question for you two 3D artists from Tacit. How do you deal with issues of fabric stretching, like at the shoulders? I know there's an issue for a lot of models with textures stretching at certain joints.
very
That-
carefully.
yeah,
That's
that is
always
gonna
an
be.
ongoing thing, and Dean's been very, very good at
Oh,
like
dude.
doing his due diligence and researching stuff.
I spent my entire 10-hour shift this morning dealing with that.
It is a struggle. It'd be there.
There's only so much you can do. So
And you see it in Call of Duty and all these big titles
Yeah.
too. With it goes in from rigging to where your joints are placed to where you put your joints in the model. It all has to line up perfectly.
yeah, at a certain point you've kind of just got to cut your losses.
Yeah,
It's
no doubt.
it's a nightmare, but so you've got your character here. So this starts in Marvelous Designer, where me or John will simulate each panel of clothing. And then once we're happy with that, that can take however long. Then you go to ZBrush,
has
you
to
do
line up.
finer details where you're sculpting in like little pucker wrinkles. You're increasing some of the forms you've already got. Maybe putting in some stitches, all sorts of stuff. Then you take that to Blender and then you retopologize it, and that's how we get this model that's more aimed at in-game use. And then you have to then weight paint it to this skeleton. And when this thing moves, you're kind of always fighting. This skeleton's gonna break, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's not the best one. God damn it. But this would be your hand bone. If you lift this up, the rest of this arm would normally follow.
Mm-hmm.
And this area is just going to get pulled. You're trying to tell the verts based on each bone how much weight it should have. And when you start doing extreme poses, you're just never going to win. Problem areas: the crotch, underneath the shoulder, above the shoulder, and hands, wrists. Wow, there's a struggle.
I can say though, it's been really cleaned up.
Yeah,
very recently.
There's something
It's
we've been
gonna look-
doing recently that we're really excited. Like
Yes,
part of the 3D team at least. And I
very.
really hope people notice it. If
Uh,
they don't notice it,
I hope they do. Don't make Dean cry and me cry.
Marty
Me and John will just be sitting in the corner like, oh, no.
It's alright.
Marty McFly asks, have you guys ever had a model that you wanted to make or made only to be told that it will no longer be needed in game?
Yes. That's all I need to say on that one. It happens. It sucks.
It's
but
just
it
part
happens.
of it, yeah. True.
Cal and stuff. I'm gonna. Alright, the patch is getting their weights fixed at some point. The front patch constantly phases through the vest. Yes, they actually have been fixed multiple times. Weight painting is fun. I most recently fixed them for a trailer and just haven't put it into the main game yet. So that's on me.
Ooh, that's
Fixed them ages ago, and then we were playtesting the other day, and I saw the patch phasing through. I was like, I fucking fixed that, and I remembered I haven't updated the mesh.
That is a very
toilet reacting. He's getting
The
mad.
toilet reacts to it.
There's gonna be a scrap. Man, what was I doing? Is there anything anyone like wants to see? I can't show certain things, but the stream was supposed to be like an environment design, and it's kind of straying pretty regularly. So,
well, I mean, you are building an environment from scratch, so I think you're hitting the aim of what you were seeking to do. I guess. What do you think is like the tenets of philosophy when you're kind of building an environment? How much does like making good flow for the player versus doing something artsy and different go in terms of your priority list?
good flow for the player is level designers. So that's not really my forte. I can give feedback and test whatever, but really, when it comes to how the level flows, that's a level designer that decides that. That's what they're good at. And then I come in over the top of what they've given me, and then we apply the art to it after. So for me, it's kind of always working between level design and concept art. For environments, at least, you're always between the two, trying to meet each other's goals. You're kind of middlemaning. And then for each area of 3D, it's always different. For like characters, is a totally different ballgame. You're working with concept art and the animators. You're always in between those two. If it's weapons, it's concept art and animators. If it's props, it's a bit of level design, concept art less so, but technical art comes in there as well because props get out of hand really quickly. You need to be sensible with those kind of things.
I see. That's sort of So the console asks, how do you and other 3D model designers get the SCP-610 reference images? Stupid heart message always blocks it out. If it's in the works.
So could you repeat the question? Sorry.
How do you or other 3D model designers get SCP-610 reference images if it's in the works?
That's concept art. We rely on concept art there. I cannot show anything that you're asking for there. I'm afraid not.
The concept art can only be sent up, after the fact.
I will get into much trouble. I'm probably already in trouble for mentioning it.
Mr. Glitch asks, is there a chance for Trey to be in the cat meme stream? I got a few questions since I was present on the stream. He could show up. I wouldn't expect it. Trey does pop in every now and then, but he's a busy gentleman. It's nice when he does, but I wouldn't 100% expected him to. And I can't make him to.
He's sleeping right now as well because he's been doing a lot.
What I think, honestly, I think the best time you'll see Trey is whenever we premiere the next trailer, or we'll probably want to do like a post-launch event once the new thing is live. I think then you'll get to see him in that wonderful suit we all love so much. Simon Hassan asks, how long have you been 3D designers and what games have you worked on before? This, if any.
I have been doing 3D since I was about 14, maybe. I'm 28 now. So what's that? Was that 14 year? My math's terrible. But yeah, a long time. I started off with CAD and then moved over to games. I think the first game I ever worked on was Assault Cube Reloaded. It was like an old thing on the Quake engine, and it was portable and it was sick. And it I wasn't paid or anything like that, but it was the first thing I ever got like one of my models into officially. It was really cool. Then went to uni, and when I came out of uni, I was hired as a facial motion editor, and I worked on Modern Warfare 2019.
Yeah, boy! Oh, yeah!
How long it was going to take for me to drop that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a big flex. If I were you, I'd be like super obnoxious. Oh yeah, just a little game, little something. Modern Warfare 2019, the one everyone actually liked.
It's
yeah,
the good one.
Yeah.
The good one. I think that's an incredible credit. John or Temptor, what about you?
I've been 3D modeling for like 5 years, but I did like a little bit of 2D stuff, like shitty little 2D animations before that, years before that.
Here's the thing that John will be really modest about, right? 5 years. You've only been doing this for 5 years. Like when we first met, you'd only just started.
Yeah, for ISMC, man. Yeah. Shit.
Well, I think the first thing you ever showed me that you'd model was like a grip, and I look at that.
Oh, the RK0, the Zenitco
like,
one.
Holy shit! Like, you move so much faster than I did when I started 3D modeling.
I've also dropped everything in my life for 3, like, quite literally. Like, this has been my life for the past like 3 years now. But man, yeah, without your help, Dean, dude, I wouldn't be anywhere where I'm at. You're an amazing teacher, and me and Dean met on ISMC, and then we got tasked to do some work on Operation Harsh Doorstop
Yep.
in the way beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and
It just went from there.
just went from there, man.
Two Box Games,
Their
I wasn't here
character
for a
beginning.
bit. What are you modeling? He is modeling this area built from concept art of
usual.
Area 12, the reception area.
It's super messy, and like I'm too busy talking and having fun that I'm really not doing a lot. But this is a mess. It doesn't look like much. But we're kind of getting to that point where you're gonna start seeing in a second, hopefully, where I can actually use all these pieces I have, kind of build some of this out. So let's see. I have a straight piece here, so let's assume put that there. Let's take a an outer corner. This would be 45. So we'll take that. Tube that across. That's gonna look a bit janky. 45-degree pieces are always a pain in the ass.
Mr. Glitch says, last question before I go to sleep, since you guys are not D-class personnel. What is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Ooh, man.
Butter pecan all day.
Well, that's a good one. Rum and raisin. Rum and raisin's pretty
Is that like an old dude flavor? Butter
I
pecan.
think so.
I like
rum
my
and
butter
raisin
pecan. I don't know. There's something about it, man. I just can't. Oh, it's so good. Even though I can't eat that much of it anymore, but
what's your favorite flavor? Dean,
Me?
did you give yours yet?
Rum and raisin, man. Rum and raisin. Or raspberry ripple. If it's not rum and raisin, it's raspberry ripple.
I don't think I've ever had rum and raisin or raspberry ripple, but these sound like two interesting flavors. My favorite is chocolate chip cookie dough because what's better than ice cream? Ice cream stuffed with cookie dough. Marty McFly, our champion speedrunner, says, Wolf, we took what you said to heart. Theater Anomaly only takes 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Oh my God.
Nice,
Gauntlet thrown down.
Curious to see what
stupid fast.
What cinema room did you take?
He says it's faster now, found a new route. Timing it now.
I'm curious to see what cinema room you used. I normally use 4, which makes it take longer than it should, but it's just an easier route.
Oh, he's going to clip it and post it in memes so you can see it for your own education.
Yeah.
So I guess one thing I'm kind of curious, you're modeling this kind of stairwell area. When will you sort of like model the kind of entrance area with like the front desk? Or is that kind of like the objective to do, just kind of work on the stairwell area for now?
What I'm doing right now is modular pieces. So you can see just from those little pieces I made, and if you discount all the time that I'm sitting here blabbering away, that really didn't take long. I've maybe busted those out in probably 30 minutes actual working time, if that. But from these pieces, I've made this, and that can repeat along. Like, we can make all of these balconies now, and there's a lot more detail to go into that, but that's just a block out. But I've got the basis of that balcony in. It'll probably need to be a bit higher. This I wouldn't bother making because we'll use planes for that. Like, that stuff's already an engine. There's no point in adding new planes. This piece here is pretty much just a cube extended up. We may see this like faceting on here.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting to put a lot more geometry into things because it does look nicer and it catches the light better. So I'll maybe run some verts along the side here and pull it in and give some nice geometry. And then to do that, I'll also need to make an LOD version. So let's say this would be, let me paint. Why do you not let me paint? Holy shit, that's massive. Right, so assume I modeled like a 1 by 1 meter version of it. This would be LOD 0, so that's the highest detail version. And I can run these verts along here, I'll pull them in and then give that a bit of detail. Then I'll need to remake it again. We just take this much of it, and I don't put this detail on the front, and that would be LOD 1. So what that means is when your player is like face to face with this, you'll be looking at LOD 0, and that's got all that nice detail in it, so you can see the depth. And then the further away you move from them, it'll switch to LOD 1, where these purple lines here, they'll get removed, and it's pretty much just a cube, and that saves your computer from frying.
Ah,
And if you
interesting.
wanted to take it further, like the more you do that, the better optimized it gets.
If you wanted to just make like an environment that would like fry or take the most powerful computer to run, what would you do if you just wanted to make the most unoptimized piece of garbage level?
Foliage, cover it in fucking foliage. Make a forest. Leave in the high polys. Foliage is a nightmare. Like foliage is a job on its own. That's something that I'm not well versed in. My knowledge of it is very limited. I could get by. It would take me a bit longer. But you have an actual foliage artist that would come in and do custom foliage.
I had no idea it was
many...
that difficult. Yeah. So you ever see that game where you play as the monkey and you evolve?
No, I don't think so.
What is it called? Monkey game where you evolve. Ancestors, the Humankind Odyssey. You basically play as a monkey in a jungle, and the whole idea is that you keep on like producing ancestors to the point where you eventually become humans. And that game is just all foliage. It is just like huge jungle. I could only imagine that was like a nightmare to make.
Foliage has so much going on. They're really high poly counts, depending on how you do it. They need a lot of LODs to function correctly. Because if you say you had like a big oak tree, you've obviously got the mesh in the middle for the main stalk of the tree. Then you've got the meshes that come off for branches. And then you have like alpha cards, which is like a plane that has an atlas texture of leaves. I think I might be able to find one in here actually. Let's see if I can get leaf atlases just to show you. Like that. Like that's like a leaf atlas. It's not going to show me the texture though, is it? Yeah, there you go. Whoa, it's nasty. That's a leaf atlas. So in between here, you can see the actual leaves. And in between here, that would all be like see-through, using opacity. And you have to take a single plane and unwrap it over this to get your leaf. And you start placing them around to make a bush. So that, polycount-wise, jumps up really fucking quickly. It can get out of hand pretty fast. Normally why like games that have a lot of foliage are really taxing.
So how do you get like a game like I don't know, isn't there that open world Avatar game where you like play as a Navi? How does that game run without like destroying every system it's on?
A lot of it is down to technical art. Especially nowadays, like we're not on UE5 as much as that saddens some of the team. We're on UE4, so we don't get to make use out of like Nanite, for example. Nanite's like a tool that's really useful for cutting down how taxing certain things are in a software. So for us, we need to be a bit smarter about it. And again, it's LODs. Like LOD 0 is a lot of as much vertices as you're going to need up close. And then you start dialing it back, and eventually say you get to like LOD 5, it's not even actually a model, it's just a flat plane. We call it a billboard. It's just a large plane with a 2D texture of a tree on it. But you'll never be close enough to see that. It's always at a distance.
So
will we ever move to UE5? Well, man, we would love to, but that is a massive undertaking. If you want the game soon, no. simple as that.
If
If
you-
you within the next like couple of years, like not a chance.
if you ever want to see what exactly, if you ever want to see the 1.0 version. Although hypothetically, let's say it was technically feasible and financially possible and prudent to move to UE5, what more tools would help you out? What more resources would you have that you wouldn't have access to now?
Nanite is a big one. Nanite is one of these things that's a bit of a buzzword, but Nanite has a lot of bonuses. They kind of marketed it in a way that people got really excited about, like, oh, we can just throw in high poly models. It's like, well, yeah, you can, but that's really not ideal. If you're still optimized with it, Nanite does the rest, and it saves a lot of processing power. You can actually do a lot of modeling in UE5 now, which is quite nice. So you could make, like, a lot of these pieces that I'm making, you could just make flat out in Unreal Engine. There's no reason for me to do it in Blender and then bring it in and piece it out. You can just make adjustments in Unreal Engine 5. UE4 you can't do that. Yeah, there's the lumen, lighting. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that would be really nice. But we have to
lumen
work
would
with
be
what we
so
have.
nice.
Okay, maybe at some point on the stream I might actually get these stairs made.
We keep on distracting you, but it's a nice
I like talking,
chill environment. These streams are fun, and I love showcasing all of the people. And when like people from Affray jump in and say hi. But by the same token, if we did this all the time, for the game's development would probably it would go down to a snail's pace.
I've done that at such a fucking weird height, man. Why did I do that?
So, just out of curiosity, how do you think this opening area compares to Half-Life's famous area? That is the stuff of gaming legends.
What do you mean? Sorry.
You remember the famous opening entryway in Half-Life?
Yeah.
Is there any inspiration taking away from there to this?
Man, Half-Life, I have a lot to give to Half-Life. It was at the time, like I remember when it came out, and I was just blown away. It's one of those things when you look back on it now, like the tech that we all use day in day out has surpassed so far that it's not even something you could really draw a comparison to. I can only imagine what it would have looked like if they worked to the standards that we have now. I mean, that's like Alex, right? Half-Life Alex.
Yeah, true. Half-Life Alex is like a really impressive piece of work. But I always think that they managed to build so many iconic environments in Half-Life with like half the tech is what you're working with now, which is always like such an impressive achievement. Especially since Half-Life kind of like redefined what a first-person shooter could be. It like went from the era of like Quake and Doom to like the more modern era of like scripted immersive narratives.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with these stairs.
Well,
it's just not computing in my brain.
One thing I do want to
things where the concept art's probably just a bit strange.
How are you feeling? I know it's like it's daylight savings time. It's very late for you. You still feeling good, Dean?
Dude, I'm ready to go. I mean, I'm not doing much work, but I'm like still awake, having fun.
All right, good. I always like to make sure that you're feeling good, feeling piped and ready.
It's been a long day for me. I woke up, started work at 9 a.m., finished at 6 p.m., took a break, had some dinner. I started this stream at 11 p.m. and it is now 12:30 a.m. So it's been a long day. Wow.
You have been burning that midnight oil.
Caffeine into me, man, so I'm ready to go.
All right, as long as you're feeling all right. But if you do want to
Alright.
wind down, always let me know. We'll we'll put a blanket over Captain Crunch, put him to bed. Wish everyone to have some hot cocoa, snuggle into bed, and dream sweet dreams of SCP terrors.
Yeah. So here's one of these things. Someone was asking earlier, like when do you like depart from the concept art? And this is really one of them. Like I said, the stairs. Something about this just isn't vibing with me the right way.
So how do you know that? Is it just like what instinctually do you think is like not clicking?
It's
How,
this slope. This slope feels really steep, and it's different from this one here. Again, maybe that needs.
Yeah, like the platform's real narrow. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's
maybe.
really steep. Yeah.
But then that's a different slope. So that's 1, 2, 1, 2. So that's 2 meters by 2 meters. There's a fairly even slope. We've used that before. Whereas this one right now is running on like a. Jesus Christ, Blender, give me peace. There, right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's half a meter. So again, that's there. Now those are even. That's 2 by 2. And I think it's just instinctual. Like it's just from doing it so much that already I'm like, yep, that adds up more in my head.
do you think you just get like a second sense of like a 3D designer's
I
intuition?
It definitely is. It's like I can foresee problems in my future.
You
All right,
just
cool.
feel the flow of it.
Yeah, a lot of it is feel and just experience of knowing. Like I'm making mistakes, man. Like 3D is all about solving puzzles. It's just constantly problem solving and like how do I make this work with little, or like do more with less. So there, I've done it again. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It just keeps looking weird. It's throwing me off. There. That's a bit more even. That's 2 meters long. Really shouldn't be. Let's pull this. And Blender's got it in for me today. What's going on? I know what I'm doing. There. A dumbass. Ta-da. Yep, there we go. That's a bit more natural feeling. Now pull in a reference. Yeah, mostly. It's pretty high though.
Is it just out of curiosity? Is it possible to like make the area playable if you want to like kind of like see what it looks like in the game, or is that kind of like something you have to export?
Nah, not here. That I would need to bring these meshes into Unreal Engine, and then in Unreal Engine is where I would test stuff like that. But I can't do that on stream, I'm afraid.
Okay. Yeah, too many things that would leak out. Unforeseen
there's no way.
horrors.
There's no way I could keep a lid on all of that. As soon as you open up Unreal Engine, you're going to be met with whatever it was I was working on last, and I'm pretty sure it's not something I can share. So
That better safe than sorry.
quick repeat. Have you ever thought about adding a flamethrower? We have thought about it.
The flamethrower is like something that is people have been wanting a lot. I think maybe it was one of the other streams. There was like flamethrower and also forklifts. People want forklifts.
It is the forklift thing that was so like before my time.
Well, it came up. It became like up like a meme. Forklift. When are we gonna have the forklifts? When is the forklift gonna be drivable? How long would it take for you to add a forklift if you did have to model it?
Well, vehicles are tough. Vehicles would take a lot of work. Again, it's like the similar to the gun thing. Is like you have a vehicle artist. It's not just like a lot of people on the team are 3D generalists, and some of us specialize in things. And like, as my role as lead, like the reason I'm in that position is because I've done a lot of things. Like I can do vehicles, I can do guns, characters, but I still don't hold a candle modeling a vehicle to someone who is a vehicle artist. Like their job entails in having proper vehicle knowledge. They know why cars work the way they do. It takes so much more.
That's interesting. Is that why vehicles are kind of rare? Because one of my favorite things in Halo was when they made the vehicles you can get in and out of. I love games like that where you can kind of get in and out of a vehicle and ride around.
If you go to somewhere like CG Trader and look for vehicles, and you'll see how expensive they are. And there's a reason why. They take a lot of work.
Dang.
For good ones.
I had no idea. Is that the reason
Probably
why?
one of the more expensive models.
I guess they're difficult to run. Is there a reason why Bungie spends so much time on the Warthog? Is the Warthog the best vehicle ever produced in a video game?
Yeah, there's a lot to vehicles, and they're large objects, and they have a lot of parts to them, because not only have you got the exterior, you've got multiple decisions to make. Like, how close are you going to see it? Are you going to be able to interact with it? Do the doors open? You've got glass. Are you going to model the interior? What about a trunk? How much of the underside are you ever going to see? Is it drivable? If it's drivable, you're going to probably need to somehow model the suspension, the actual inner workings. What about an engine block? And then you've got to fit all of that onto UV space and texture it in a way that doesn't look shit. There's so much to a vehicle. Thank you. Allow me to provide subtitles, Dean. Indiscernible Scottish sounds.
I guess there's a reason why you don't. There's a reason why you don't see them that often. Although I guess you didn't do any work for. Does Modern Warfare 2019 have vehicles?
Yeah, I think they did. My job on Modern Warfare 2019 wasn't, although it was 3D related, it was more of an animation thing. So all of the facial animations in the cutscenes, I was part of the team responsible for that.
Mm. And would you say you prefer environments or animating people?
It was people's faces, specifically people's faces. That's all I did.
Are you happier now where you're kind of modeling a more specific amount of things?
Oh, dude, much happier. So much happier. I loved working on Modern Warfare 2019. It was fun. But the work I was doing was quite mundane at times. Whereas now I get to do so many different things and actually get to use a lot of my skills.
But you got to, did you by any chance model, what's that guy's name everyone loves, Ghost? I mean, that sounds like that would be a privilege.
No, I worked on Farah, Price, a little bit of Gaz, a good chunk of Alex. I think that was it. I think I maybe did one selective general line push. But it wasn't modeling, so it was the actual motion capture of the actors' faces. So you've got a motion capture suit, which most people probably know, and that captures the actual movement of their body. And then you would have a head-mounted camera that it's like a long piece of metal with two cameras that point towards their face at an angle, so that you can use those two cameras to get depth. You then turn that into a point cloud, and then you would take the mesh that you would render for the cutscene, and my job was to pin all those vertices to that point cloud and animate it, sometimes frame by frame, depending on how messed up the point cloud got. So you're pretty much staring at grey models all day. There's no audio. I had no idea what they were saying. It was just trying to make sure the mesh lined up to whatever movements they made.
Yeah, the way I understand it, you just sat in a dark room all day and they held a gun to your head while you animated audioless animations.
Yeah.
What? Who is that? Oh my God, did a wild Trey Bishop come into the event? Welcome, the game director of SCP-5K, wearer of the D-Class. master of the anomalous, Trey Bishop, here hanging out today, watching Dean as he struggles with the most challenging development task. How do you make a stairwell that feels good?
I'm really tired and it doesn't help. But there's something about this is just rubbing me the wrong fucking way. I can't figure it out.
I was gonna say, I feel like every day I watch Dean be miserable and struggle.
Nah, definitely not.
No, just kidding. Dean's usually pretty on top of his game all the
Yeah.
time.
This is the joy of pulling a long shift and then doing a stream. Not only do
Yeah.
I have to work, but it's doing it like in front of everyone. Spook.
Yeah, this is past your normal time. This is like the end of the day for you, isn't it?
This is 1 a.m.
This is the
Dean.
beginning of the next day.
Welcome to my world.
I've been here before, not as much, but I've been here.
Oh no, I just mean that I'm on like the.
You're there all the fucking time. Man.
I'm like I like exist in the midnight realm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for being such a sport and being able to do it late night, just so we could have the prime time Friday night stream. So
I really wanted to do it, so I didn't mind. I got like catching up with the community and hearing what they've got to say and answering questions because they always ask some cool stuff. I haven't heard anything in a while though.
They've just been memeing on forklifts. They love forklifts. But someone in here before was asking if Trey would come in. I don't know if you're still here, but the gaming gods have delivered. So if you have a question for Trey right now, now is the time to ask. We've got a dream team assembled. We've got Dean, John, and Trey hanging out. So if you want to ask things, now is the time to go crazy. Unless you just want to meme on forklifts. And when is Forklift Simulator coming to 5K? Why isn't there more multiplayer forklifts? How long would it take to get a forklift in the game? You can also do that.
Why is everyone so interested in the forklifts?
I have no idea, man. That's what I said. It's before my time.
I think they just like the forklifts, and forklifts have like kind of like a meme status of like, oh, you could drive them, because they're just not very fun to drive, but people like the idea of like, if I could drive it, that would be fantastic and fun.
Yeah, I'll admit I've been trying to get us to have drivable forklift since I started. I don't know if it'll ever
Logistics simulator. Just rearranging boxes in the logistics area.
I think my excuse that I gave the last time was, well, if we have a really big monster that you can't take down with a gun, what if you could drive the forklift into it?
that would be an amazing boss battle.
Yeah, it would be short-lived. But we came to a fork in the road and we chose the forklift one.
But it's...
I mean, who needs to take it? Who needs to take the reactor out? Nova has a really good question. Why did the update get pushed? I'd gotten so many energy drinks and soda, and then it got delayed. Hopefully, you didn't drink those, and you still have them on hand. But Trey, would you like to give a? You gave a really well written response, but I'm sure people would love to hear it from your voice now.
Sure. First off, I'll say at least now you have time to get more energy drinks. So that's not exactly a lose, but I apologize for the delay. Yeah, we like we said in the announcement, we got to a point where we were getting really close to the launch, and we just were doing playtesting and trying to suss out bugs, and it wasn't quite hitting the mark on like what we wanted the experience to be like, and we were missing a few things, and in terms of like the experience. So we tried to figure out why, and without spoiling anything, I guess essentially we determined that in order for it to feel the way we wanted it to feel and to actually be the experience we wanted to give, we had to change a few things. And in changing a few things, one that was going to take a little bit more time we weren't prepared for, it would also mean that it would potentially introduce new bugs that could be game breaking for all we knew. And the smartest way to go about it was just to give the developers 2 more weeks to try to make these adjustments and to continue doing the testing and bug fixing as much as possible so that we could release this with as few things going wrong as possible, because we didn't want a repeat of 0.13, where we put it out and it had a bug that took us way too long to find and was crashing the game all the time. Because what's the point of releasing it on the 12th if you can't play it?
Very well said. There's a great piece of wisdom. It was originally attributed to Shigeru Miyamoto, but apparently it was misquoted. I forget who said it, but it's a great quote. A delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad.
Yep.
Oh,
There you have it.
starting to see things.
It is always good to take your time and have a fantastic project. Nova asks, how do you know that will be April 29th?
How do we know? Just because of how close we were already with the 12th, we could have released on the 12th. That's the thing. But we wanted it to be a much better refined experience than what we had in our hands. And we knew that it would only take X amount of time to do the fixes we wanted. So that's how.
And I think that is a very studious answer. So there you go. It was good to go, but it could have been even better. And hopefully, will be no errors where it forces your computer to brick or green screen. And any critical things will be good, and it will run smoothly to the experience that you people deserve. Another question: when will the new trailer come out?
Soon.
There you have it.
Soon. But not soon.
Yeah.
Trailers
Not
were
tomorrow, not the next day, but soon. Yeah, it'll be out most likely before the release is. Like, what would be the point of the trailer if it's not out before the update? You know. If I tell you guys the dates for everything, you won't have anything to be excited about. Now you'll have something to use those energy drinks for. Just staying awake and watching the Discord constantly. When's the trailer coming out?
There you go. The mystery box of fun and excitement just waiting to be handled.
Wait, man, I'm gonna fall out of these stairs.
In real life?
Aye. What is? I'm missing something, and it's bugging me. They're too long. But this is one of these concept art things where that's probably too steep.
Oh yeah.
Looks a bit steep.
They're
Yeah.
super steep.
We have a lot of cases where I think the stairs are a bit too steep in the game as it is, especially for like the kind of gameplay that we have. Fuck, I couldn't speak for a second there.
That makes more sense, I think.
We'll take a look here.
Is there a philosophy of like what
Yes.
games do you think do the best stairs, or which ones do you think do terrible stairs? What are the examples of good stairs when you think of designing stairs?
It's not something I've really thought about, but it's one of those things you kind of take for granted when you just walk up steps in game. You're like, oh yeah, stairs, cool. Just getting me to the next floor. Someone had to make those. Appreciate your stairs. They're probably not having as hard a time as I am right now because they slept and aren't filled full of like 300 milligrams of caffeine. But hey ho.
Yeah.
Someone had to make custom collisions on those stairs too.
And then someone has to do the IK with the feet to make sure that they don't like do weird shit.
Oh, there's a lot more that go into stairs than I thought.
Yeah, and then
myself.
like one of the things I think it was Dean and I when we were watching something else or playing around with a different game, we saw how they did their stairs, and it was a game with guns, I believe, and we thought, oh shit, well, the way you navigate and with other players and with monsters and with gunfighting, you kind of have to fudge like the reality of how big a staircase is because it can make an impact on the gameplay, even if you don't realize that it's been done that way. And I think that's what I was talking about earlier. Like some of the staircases we have are still staircases from way early on when the project started, and some of them could be tweaked. I just don't know if it'll be worth it for us to go back and adjust those ones. It might just be the ones moving forward, like with the ones Dean's working on now.
Yeah, it's a bit bare. They're pretty big steps, though.
Yeah.
Marty McFly, one of the leaders of the currently top top team in the speedrunning competition, so definitely give him his kudos for that. Has a question for Wolf: is the SCP facility not handicap accessible?
We've actually spoken about stuff like this before.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing because we can put details in like that, and we do like doing things like that. But how much time are we willing to spend on that?
If it sometimes it's about like Dean's saying, if it has a positive enough net impact on the gameplay experience, or not, you know. But sometimes we'll do things just because it's an aesthetic thing only, but it's a nod to something that's lore related, but there's not really a handicap thing that felt like it was important.
Yeah.
I think secretly we have this just like headcanon. It's not a secret now because I'm about to say it, but we had this headcanon that anytime safety violations like OSHA, if OSHA comes by,
Yeah.
their documents go in the same place as redacted ones, to the shredder or the incinerator.
Yeah, it's starting to feel a bit more normal. It's an actual.
Nova asks, will you add a city game mode? How applicable is that? Is there a city coming or an urban map?
I will say this and only this, as I've said before. We will not always be playing in SCP Foundation facilities.
There you have it. City mode not confirmed, but it might be something different to look forward to. X Dreeper says, Paris? Well, you'll have to wait and see. And Two Box Game says, I just want to say hello to him. So, hi from Two Box Games to Trey Bishop.
Hello.
And yes,
Sorry, I don't know what else to say back. Hi, hello, howdy.
He was just like, "Is Trey there?" And I was like, "All right, I gotta at least say hello to him." It was just like a nice thing.
I hope you guys said hello to Dean as well,
Yeah,
and John.
You should
I'm
all
just enjoying some pistachios right now.
Just eating pistachios.
I can't
watching
stop
Dean
eating them.
suffer.
So good.
They're so
It's
delicious.
a common 3D artist thing is snacking on some form of. Was normally eat cashews. Anything for
Cashews
fuel.
are so good.
Two Box
Honey
Games
roasted cashews.
gives a hello to Dean and John. What about beef jerky? For some reason, I would imagine like if you're a
jerky's
three.
fucking expensive though.
Yeah.
What is
We're
the
game
deal with that?
developers.
It's
We
like
can't afford
18
jerky.
bucks. Yeah, it is the best like energy. It's like the best sustenance you're gonna get, but the price.
That is so expensive.
Tiny bag is like $8.
I remember when I used to work at
What's it
Yelp.
make it?
Yelp, they had like this like snack station, and I would always like they would offer, they wouldn't give you big bags of beef jerky, but they'd have like the little snack size bags of beef jerky, and I would always like hoard those like a little pack rat. I would just like bring like a briefcase to work, which I wouldn't even really need, but I would need it for hogging all of the beef jerky and other expensive snacks. So pro tip for any of you, if you ever work at one of those big tech companies, take all the snacks you can.
Take all the free food from there. Yeah, I never did that. No, I definitely did.
Goliath asks, any Easter eggs planned? Well, I guess, are there any Easter eggs in the new update or just Easter eggs in general that have been worked on? I know you've got that like crab dance. I don't know if that's still in the game, but the crab dance was really fun.
We have a lot of Easter eggs planned. I don't know that any of the new ones have been made into this update. It's been more of a focus on adding some of the new mechanics and systems that we wanted, and the new enemies, and of course the areas and weapons. But we do have a lot in mind. We we are interested in making sure that there are hidden things, and personally, I would like to have a specific set of collectibles in the game, and we are working on it.
Any chance, Two Box Games asks, new SCP anomaly, endless bag of Doritos. Is it possible to make that happen?
This bag of Doritos. If we could, I'm sure that the 3D artists would be all over it because they apparently need snacks when they work.
Yeah,
Um,
I need an endless can of Monster. It's been like a dream of mine since I was like 14. If I could just get a can of Monster that's always frozen cold, and when I crack it, it just never ends. I could die a happy man.
You like that better than Red Bull?
Ah, dude, I can't stand Red Bull.
You don't think they taste the same?
Oh no, definitely not.
I'm a Red Bull person.
I can't believe
Yeah, I'm a
it.
monster
How did I
dude.
not know
I don't
this?
know.
Well,
It's such a nostalgic taste for me.
they have flavored ones. I like the strawberry apricot one that they've got. It's really good.
Yeah. I know I've been super slow and kind of like half tired and talking, but you can see how far you can get with a couple of shapes.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah, I
obviously
guess.
a lot more to do than that, but like,
Is
that's the
that
bulk of this room, you know?
is that kind of like? Would you say that's like one of the big skills of like being a 3D artist? Is kind of like building with Legos and finding the shape of in the concept art and building it from there.
Yeah, it's definitely an important skill if you're an environment artist. Like knowing what needs to be modular and what can be done modularly and where to save that space.
So, for all the aspiring 3D artists, do you think you just like get on those Legos, play with them, use them when you're young? That is the key.
I mean, that's if you want to do environment art, yeah. So much environment art now is done, especially in production. You need to be very quick and try and save space where you can. And this is one of the more common ways of doing it.
Yeah, actually, do you mind if I ask a question to you, Dean?
Yeah, go for it.
So, I know the answer to this, but I'm asking for
Right.
the sake of other people that are watching. If someone came up to you and just said, like in the studio, and said, "Oh, hey, we want to add this new monster into the game, or we want to make the character talk, or um, we actually need to change out all these doors and do a different kind of door that slides open versus hinges open," like that seems pretty simple, right? You could just model that and then we put it in the game and that's it. Is that it?
No. No.
Why not?
You're
Could
killing
you
me.
could you explain why?
Right, pick one to go for first. What one?
Okay.
The doors?
Uh,
The doors.
yeah. Let's start with the doors. Yeah.
Right. So the doors have a standard that I've already mentioned. So all of our doors in SCP-5K are built to, if I'm correct, roughly 1, 2, 3, 4. Do that, and then we do that. Right. All of our doors are built to this dimension. They also need to be 4 thick for collision. Whose idea that was, I can't remember, but it's a pain in the ass. But
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what we've got now, so we need to stick with it because all our doors are built with that. I would love
Yeah.
for it to be 2.
Yeah. All our walls are super thick, and
Yeah.
that's not like how everybody does it. So.
No, I'd like 2. That seems like a reasonable doorway to me.
Mhm.
But that does cause issues with collisions. Like the player can actually phase through that at some points, which is why we have 4.
Mhm.
So that's one of those weird game things. Like I would much rather it look like that, and you'd have a door sitting in here. But we can't change it. And if we start changing that, it means a lot of the models that we make and a lot of the things we base our dimensions off of have to also change. You have to set standards and stick to them.
Yeah, because that affects origin points too, doesn't it?
Yeah. Origin points are important. So Like if I set my origin there, nope, set origin to 3D cursor. That little orange dot is where its pivot point is. It's where it will always be placed. It's where it rotates around, and those are super important. And
Can mess up
doors,
the modularity,
obviously,
right?
yeah, doors obviously need a lot of that. Like when a level designer goes in here in UE4, they cannot affect that pivot point. We have to set them as 3D artists. And when they're placing tiles along, if you start messing with the pivot points, like say, I don't know, I just put it. What's the quickest way to do that? Say I put it there. So there's no care applied to that. It's not even snapped to a grid point. If I leave that pivot point there, and then using the engine snapping, it's just never going to line up. I'll look at that by chance. Nope. There you go. Look. Gap. Ever so slightly. Tiniest gap. So pivot points are super important. They need to be pretty unified and make sense. Obviously dimensions, this is enough for our player to go through.
Yeah.
The actual door mesh itself is to do with collisions and where we place the pivot points. It's not something we can easily change. So like a double door has a standard, a single door has a standard, a sliding door has a standard. And if we really want to change that, it can be risky. It's not like a major deal, but it's something you need to think about.
Yeah, this is also a great example of why, not just with doors, but with anything in general, why you can't just go, oh, well, you could just find this on an asset store and just pop it into the game. It's not that. It is not that simple.
I fell prey
Because
to that.
yeah, it's there are a lot of different factors that come into play.
Yeah.
Dean is got an eagle eye when it comes to looking through stuff. If we do need to find something, like if it's a trash can and we don't want to model it, you'd be surprised how many polys can be in a trash can. We are often very surprised how many polys people manage to put into a trash can.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane.
That's our job.
Trey, just out of curiosity, would you like to regale our audience with any wonderful stories of GDC? Any interesting anecdotes, run-ins with Neil, not Neil Gaiman. What am I? The Valve guy that everyone loves.
Gabe Newell?
Gabe Newell, yes, Gabe Newell or Hideo Kojima or any other gaming superstars and celebrities.
Off the top of my head, I'm sure there are stories. I'd have to think about it and probably come back to it. But I did not run into Hideo Kojima. I really wish that I would have. It was my hope that if we did see him, that I'd get a picture with him in the D-class suit. That would have been that would have made my day,
amazing.
made my life. I don't know. I'm trying to think of anybody famous. I mean, I know one of our team members saw Troy Baker there.
Ooh.
He did the voice of Joel on The Last of Us.
Well, he does like a voice in every game. He's like just like the go the it guy when it comes to video game voice acting.
Yeah, he's like video game industry Tom Cruise.
Pretty much. Him and Deborah Wilson are kind of like the two people who seem to like scoop up all the roles.
Mm-hmm. There was actually, I do have kind of a funny story. So I ended up being face to face with some people from Konami at one point, and I was showing them a document for something in our game, because just talking to them about it, and in the middle of reading the document, I realized that something got left in there that was it was an internal document that got adapted so that we could just talk about our stuff to people. And my name was in the internal document, where it was like a bullet point list of things we were trying to accomplish, and at the end of it, I had written Trey dies. And I guess it got left in there, and I'm in the middle of like showing this to them, and it was I just had no choice but to read it out loud and say, and then I die, and that's the last step. Which they seemed to think was funny. So thankfully it wasn't that big of a deal. Yeah, we met a lot of people, and so it was just a lot of conversations where we got to talk to people and tell them about our game and meet them, and that's pretty much about all it was. I'm trying to think of anyone else we met that was pretty big, but it's escaping me at the moment.
Any secret industry parties, backroom? What's the seedy side of GDC?
No CD side. Although I did see something about a party that did happen that I didn't go to. I didn't go to any of the parties or anything. Where I guess an executive at some other company, I'm sure if you look it up on your own, you'll find it, got in trouble for being a little bit too forward with people at the party. That's probably the seedy side of it, but that's like a person. That's like an individual outside of the event hours. The closest thing to a party that I went to was I went and had dinner with like the game director from Amnesia the Bunker. That was a fun time. Yeah, he was a very cool guy, very nice, very polite, very patient. He listened really well and shared a lot of his experience and his wisdom, and I really appreciated it.
That's he's like a, don't people love the Amnesia games?
Oh yeah. I think he only directed Amnesia Rebirth and The Bunker, but Rebirth, I think he came in after somebody else had started that job, but it became a situation where they had to walk away, and so he took over. Discovered he really liked horror and directing it, I think, and then ended up doing Amnesia the Bunker from beginning to end.
Interesting. Two Box Games asks, I know this would be really dumb, but you should add a Backrooms Easter egg into 5K. Is that possible, or is it like too far from SCP to add a Backrooms Easter egg? Is it not worthwhile?
An April Fool's joke based on it.
Yeah, we did. I don't know if it's still up. It might be unlisted. But we did, like last April, we did a fake trailer for a Backrooms game from Affray. That was fun. Probably a little bit too much time and effort into a 2 or 3 day joke, but or 2 or 3 days worth of too much effort into a 1 day joke.
Well,
Easter egg wise, it's possible. Yeah, we might. Just because there's a lot of different dimensions and portals and things that exist in the SCP universe, and different tears in reality. So it's possible you might see some kind of liminal space of some kind, even if it's not a big focus.
although, have you ever heard about the most absurd April Fool's Day joke, where this guy who makes really long video essay Quentin Reviews made a video essay where he had his dad talk about Beverly Hillbillies for 36 hours?
No.
36 hours of Beverly Hillbillies.
Yes, just 36 hours of recapping Beverly Hills for every season. I think right now that might be like the longest video ever on YouTube, or video essay, as far as I know. I've never seen anything that's longer than that.
How do you get somebody to talk for 36 hours for a camera? Jesus.
Yes, you record them in little chunks. The fact that you'd have that much to say, I just find absurd. But I don't know. Does that seem like that would help you guys 3D animate 36 hours of Beverly Hillbillies?
Probably.
The moon shines so good, I'll put you in a four-wheel
Put you in a four-wheel drive.
Tacit asks, this is a really interesting question. How do you determine what is worth modeling in-house and what is better just buying? When do you...
One. Yeah.
No. Dive into it.
That's a very good one.
So, the old meme here now is, a chair is a chair. It's turned into like a very consistent meme from one of the devlogs, but the point still stands. Like, if it is not important to the story, if it is not something the player is going to spend a lot of time with, if it's something the player interacts with, it'll be made with pretty much 9 times out of 10 made in-house. If it's player characters are all made in-house, weapons are all made in-house, it's mostly smaller environment props. Like, take this, for example, that chair. Do you really care for me to spend probably a day making a high poly gathering reference, making a low poly unwrapping texturing, Like, is it worth it, or do we just use an asset?
Asset flip.
Yeah, but then you do stuff like that, you get called an asset flip. But like, why would I rather spend time on that? Whereas this entire bin shear is pretty unique. That the chances of us getting an asset for that are very slim to begin with, and it's also drawn out by our concept art to match style and bring cohesion. So that is going to get made in house. I'm going to make that right now. Things like the monitor, keyboards, filing cabinets, this lamp, I'm less interested in. Like, we can asset that, and most players are going to walk right past it anyway.
Yeah, marketplaces are a viable resource for being efficient with your time, and they are a useful tool if used responsibly. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that we're not wasting our time on small things that would keep us from focusing on the bigger things that we really need to have, the bespoke things, like Dean said, our monsters, our characters, our unique props to the SCP world. Whereas if we're trying to keep people from calling us an asset flip by modeling all of our chairs and our trash cans from scratch, people still end up calling us an asset flip anyway, and we haven't had time to actually make things that really matter. And we're not even contributing to those people that are in that marketplace that probably can't have an industry job in some cases, but they can create assets from home and sell them. You know, there's just no need. Like, why reinvent the wheel for things like that?
100%. And if we're an asset flip, that means 90% of game developers are asset flips.
Yeah, actually, Jonah Loeb, who did a lot of designs and concept art and models for Skyrim, for Fallout 3, Fallout 4, a bunch of stuff for Bethesda back in the day. He just put out a video in anticipation of the Fallout show, and he was talking about the production of Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 in the game side, and he mentioned that the model that they created for Fallout 3 for the rad roaches is the same model in Fallout 4. They just updated the textures. That was it.
No,
Yeah,
Game
well,
studios will hold on to assets and they will reuse them all the time
works
because
smart, not hard.
well, that is kind of like why people are always annoyed at Bethesda, where it feels like they haven't updated that creation engine in like 5 years. But I guess the asset is
They've sunk
very
a
expensive.
lot of investment into that. Like, they're not going to let that go.
Oh, actually,
I don't blame them.
that reminds me. The Deathclaw, actually, in Fallout, it was not a planned monster, and the reason that there's just this random demonic looking thing in the first place in Fallout 3 that doesn't look like a mutated animal, so, or a specifically mutated animal, is because they just needed another monster, and there was some other game studio that had an unused model from an old like top-down game, and so Bethesda just bought the model and they just used it in Fallout 3 and they gave it a different name, and that's what became the Deathclaw. So, you know, not everything is as in-house or unique as you think it is. Sometimes weird accidents happen, and sometimes you make magic from kit bashing a little bit.
Yeah.
I never
Especially
knew that.
nowadays with
I feel like betrayed. The iconic Deathclaw is just like something from a demon game that came out of Doom.
You'd be surprised, like, with just how detailed games have gotten these days. Like, if you're going for like full realism games, like the amount of work it goes into making it look like the way is just, it's crazy. You physically don't have the time. If you want to do like a decent production schedule, you just don't have the time to do that.
Yeah. Anytime a video game gets made and completed and is functional and it's good, it is a miracle. It is nothing short of a miracle, because the amount of chaos and issues and the whole process is fighting against you, and
Yep,
you are
fighting
forcing
attrition.
it to work.
That is so true. It's just constantly working against you, and you just have to keep pushing twice as hard to keep it from pushing you back.
Yeah, you've essentially tricked a bunch of minerals and rocks and like a bunch of materials on the planet to create numbers and create and do what you want it to do and present an image on a screen that lets you pretend you're in a different world. That's so weird. Like,
It is zeros and ones.
Wow. Yeah, it's you'd have an easier time getting to the moon. No, I'm kidding. It is very hard to make a game.
Brother Emilius asks, what do you guys think of There Is No Anti-Mimetics Division short series that's up on YouTube? I hear that's a big thing in the SCP community.
It's good.
I watched it. I've actually got the book on a table next to my next to the toilet. Actually, it's the bathroom read right now.
Wait, so it's
I remember
based on a
you wrote
book
one about it.
series?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a book called There Is No Anti-Memetics Division.
Is it self-published? Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah, I think it's self-published. It's here. Let me grab it real quick. So it is by Quantum. I think that's their sort of alias online anyway. But yeah, it talks about like I think it's 055. Let me take a look here. Yeah, SCP-055, and it deals with Marion, who is a person that's a part of the Anti-Memetics Division in the Foundation, and they sort of have this revelation that occurs. I don't know if there's I don't know how to explain it without actually spoiling the book, because it gets into it pretty quickly in the first little bit, but it's a good read. It was actually recommended to me by our writing team. I should give them the kudos for that.
So how's the short video series? Is it any good? I've seen like videos of Sherman kind of like doing watch-alongs and theory crafting. I'll probably have to watch it for myself just so I could be up on what's going on with the SCP peeps in the community. But it seems like it's kind of like a big deal.
Yeah, you guys said you didn't watch it. Is that right?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
I did, and I feel like it did pretty good. I really liked the beginning section, especially. The second half, not so much. But I think that's because they just had some limitations due to, well, I mean, it was an indie project. It wasn't there wasn't a big budget for it, I'm sure. So they were limited on how far they could take it and what they could do with it. But I think they did a good job of adapting it straight from the material and getting the idea across really easily.
So would you say it's on par with Overlord, or a little bit not quite as quite as high budget as Overlord was?
I wouldn't compare them just because they're two very different kinds of things to watch.
Hmm.
Yeah.
One's more like tactical horror, while the other one's a little bit more like indie horror.
I would say that There Is No Anti-Memetics Division is more like a suspense, like thriller kind of thing. It's more in line with something like Seven, that thing about the Zodiac killer, or someone that was inspired by the Zodiac
Love that
killer.
movie.
Yeah.
What's in the box?
What's in the
Oh
box?
no, man!
There is nothing in the box. What box? What? That's the Anti-Memetics Division. I don't remember the box.
Well, I'll definitely have to watch it, or at some point I'll have to add it to the movie list queue, since people seem to love watching SCP films. And that seemed like well, how many episodes are there going to be? Is it only like 4 episodes or 5 episodes?
Oh, is there episodes? I thought it was just the one.
No, there's like 3 or 4 of them. I think it's designed to be an episodic series. So there you go. Now I'm teaching you something about it.
Yeah, well, that would explain why I didn't like the ending as much.
Because
there's
more.
With a group. Yeah, I watched it with a group of people on the team. I didn't realize that it was a series, so that explains a lot.
Yeah, you got to find out the rest before you can have an informed opinion.
Yeah, that was the only way they could get me to watch it, was they were streaming it while we were working.
Uh-oh, is that the real reason why the update's been delayed? SCP fan films are taking away interest?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've just been drinking Monsters, eating cashews and Doritos, and we don't work on anything ever. Dean doesn't do anything.
He didn't just knock out like a front lobby desk at all, and just like.
See, now that I stopped talking, now started working.
Well, I really love this front view. Like, this is so useful.
I love that our concept artists are doing this.
Like, they're killing it.
So much harder to conceive of if I didn't have those 2 angles. It makes it so quick to just block that out. And having this, like, it's just nice to see, like, these things I'm not going to touch. We have assets already, an engine that we've made or have bought. Those will get slipped in there. This is just the desk and it's to be made. So
Two Box
I'm
Games
excited.
asks, Trey, didn't you meet Dr. Sherman at GDC?
I did actually meet him. Was there a specific question in line with that, or
No, it was just
did you
a
wanna know?
general, just asking if you met him, and yeah, there was he was in that great team photo, and I loved the 2 shorts you were able to do with him. I thought that was. Were you in the suit, or was that someone else in the 2 shorts he did with the D-class suit?
Oh yeah, that was me in the suit. Sherman snapped my neck. That was fun.
Well, I think that short did really well. It had like 100K views on it from him.
Oh really?
Let me check it right now. I like to think that the influx of plushes came from that, but sadly I have no way to check it.
Yeah, definitely glad that my face was hidden on that then.
It has 156K views, so not bad for a sponsored post.
That's cool.
brain's having a fucking meltdown. What's going on?
Cal and Stuff asks, what's your guys' favorite SCP series, tale/canon?
Ooh. I haven't watched a lot of them. I'm a sucker for 096, man. Shy Guy is just cool as fuck.
I'm surprised.
They did a.
I'm surprised you like the Shy Guy so much. I always thought he was kind of like the cliched one that was like.
He is.
I mean, he is iconic, but.
I mean, he's mostly responsible for what really drew me into SCP, though. So as much as people like knock it for being cliche, you've got to think of the impact that actually has. It's cliche for a reason. It's probably the one people find most interesting overall. Like the first time I ever heard his scream, it was like blood curdling. I was like, holy shit, that actually freaked me out. Which most of the team will attest to. That I've been playing horror games since I was like 2, and
There's
not
pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is pictures of him at
Resident Evil was my first ever game with my dad. I was about 2 years old. So a lot of horror games, I'm just like, whatever. Very rarely do I actually get spooked. But I revel in it when I do. Like, I look for it, like, please, spook me in a game. Do something that makes me go, holy fuck, I don't want to do that again. Because I don't get that feeling that often. And 096 is one of them, man. You saw him at the end of the corridor? You fucked.
Yeah. For me, I would say 173, and it's like a lot of people's answer, but it was the first SCP, and not canonically, but like it was the first one made, and it was the first one I saw and encountered, and I thought, oh my god, this is cool. Yeah, I thought it was really scary because of the way it functioned in Containment Breach, which honestly just always reminded me of the Silent Hill nurses, which I always thought were terrifying as a kid. And by the way, it came before the Weeping Angels in Doctor Who, I'm pretty sure. So if anyone's stealing anything from anything, video games stole it from video games. They didn't steal it from Doctor Who. I think you'll find how much love I have for 173 once we get deeper into the game, and you see how relevant it is to the story.
I'm partial to 049.
Just 049.
Just the creepy plague doctor, dude.
Oh yeah, dude, he is spooky.
Something about cloaked figures, man.
The old man as well, he's quite spooky.
Oh, the one that can like phase through walls?
Yeah. Maybe that was the first time I ever seen an SCP game. It was like one with the staircases.
Mr. Gumbo.
Oh, you know,
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I was just saying, Mr. Gumbo says, can't wait for the new areas to come out. Been waiting for a long time. One of the best games I've played in a long time. So thank you for that love, Mr. Gumbo.
Oh, thank you. You don't play many video games, do you? No, I'm kidding. Thank you, though. Seriously.
I do love when you like pull up the concept art for like seeing the concept art where you kind of like pull it up and then model it off. It's almost like you're like building a Lego set.
Yeah, it pretty much is. It's quite a similar approach. Try to break it down into pieces and try not to double work is really important. Like find where the pieces repeat and reuse what you can. Like especially in production. Like a lot of 3D artists that are like new, they want to make everything all the time from scratch. But like if I make one bolt, you can guarantee I'm using that bolt fucking everywhere. There's another bolt. Like I'm not making every single bolt by hand. It's trying to set yourself off on a good foot to reuse what you can wherever you can. Lots of using array modifiers, mirrors, duplicating, all that kind of thing. The more you can
Yeah.
reuse, the better.
Yeah, think of the game like a whole painting, and every time you make a model, that's mixing a color on your palette, right? You don't want to mix orange every single time, so you mix it once, you keep it on your palette, and you just keep using it when you need it.
Very true.
But here's some weird stuff with perspective I'm starting to notice. Because of the adjustments I've had to make to the stairs. It's just, man, that needs to be like there to feel right.
That's fine. Yeah, just make the room a different
It
size.
looks like there's a gap. Like it looks like from oh, why does it keep fucking doing that?
So I'm
There we
glad
go.
you're bringing this up. I'm going to remind you, don't have to make it one-to-one with concept art because it's just an
Nah.
idea.
But it's something someone was asking about, like when do you decide to stray? And I'm pretty much at that point now where I've got enough blocked in that I'm like, right, this doesn't line up, so I need to readjust.
Yeah,
Because this is
gameplay-wise.
perspective skewed, you know?
Yeah, gameplay-wise, it's not enough space for the player. So
No.
it looks good visually in a piece of art, but then once you start putting it into a real space, you find those issues. We did something similar this morning with one of our new areas. There was a redacted asset sitting in front of the player, and I thought that's awful small. It kind of looks like a toy. We should make it bigger. And they were like, really? And then I had them go into third-person mode, and they were like, oh yeah, it does seem kind of small. It looks right when you're placing it down sometimes, but then you go into practice, you're like, oh, this is weird.
That was something that was discussing earlier. Like, how do you build stairs that are appropriate for 4 players, or is it more fun to like just force them to go up one at one? Should all of them be expected to be tactically going up the stairs?
Exactly. Like that looks like a normal staircase, but I can tell you right now,
You get 4 people on that.
you're fitting 2. So do
You're going to
we
be doing
extend
after
that?
you.
So, yeah, after you. No, after you.
After you.
So do we make them go up one at a time, which is kind of shit? Because most people aren't going to do that. Like unless you're playing like fucking role play, and everyone's like, no, someone's pulling security, someone's watching left, someone's watching right, someone's point man up front. Most people don't do that, so you need to account for the fact that everyone's pretty much beelining straight for the important stuff. So that staircase is going to need to be wider. I think you don't want to go too wide because then it's like fucking huge. But I think if I could fit 3 on there comfortably, maybe that's decent enough. Make them kind of bunch up a little bit. Like if they go up it like this, that's fine. You know, you can get 4 kind of staggering up the way. So if that's the case, this all needs to come out. Oh shit. Like that much. And of course it's not. So there, now we're gonna fit 1, 2, 3. We'll fit 3 comfortably. And that's as much as I'm willing to push that.
Mr. Gumbo asks, this was addressed earlier, but I think maybe Trey might be able to add some more to it. Is the multiplayer PvP going to get some love? PvP with active SCPs inside of it, maybe playable SCPs missions would be pretty cool, but maybe too big of a project. I know what Dean was telling me that there have been discussions about multiplayer, but the biggest priority is making sure that big juicy campaign gets all the love. But I guess what could you tease about multiplayer in the future? Dreams or
now
Well-
that you're here, You could
Yeah.
probably let me spitball like random ideas, but I'm curious to see what you say first.
Yeah, Dean is kind of right, which is that we are focusing on the main campaign, but it doesn't mean we're not giving attention to PvP at the same time, because the reason we're focusing on the campaign is because all of the mechanics we need for the entire game, the other game modes, the other DLC missions, all those systems and mechanics need to exist first, and they need to work correctly. And the best way to do that is to finish our main campaign, which will host all and make use of all of those systems and mechanics. So allowing us to focus on those and finish those will allow us to actually finish these other things, these other aspects of the game, those different modes, the way that they should be, instead of them being sort of developed simultaneously and then missing some features because they're not done yet, or us going down a different path with those because of that development being separate from the campaign. But we do have it in mind. We are going to be giving some love to our other game modes here very, very soon, because we haven't forgotten about them, and we have a lot of design docs being worked on for them as well. But Dean, go for it with your questions.
We talk about it all the time and how to like make PvP more interesting, because as it stands, it's just team deathmatch. And I'm a sucker for like slightly more competitive modes, and because we're in the nature of like SCP, you can take quite a lot of standard game modes and make them SCP themed, which I think is more fun. So rather than like capture the flag, it's capture the specimen.
Yeah, that's something
And
that we
stuff
would
like
like
that's
to do.
a bit more involved. Adding in random enemies like resonators, using resonators in some form of game mode. Like I don't know who can exterminate the most resonators.
So you're gonna get me in a lot of
Fighting,
trouble
yeah.
really quickly, and then you're gonna get
Yeah.
yourself in a lot of trouble
I know,
because
I know.
you're skirting on the edge of things that are being
Yes.
talked about and worked on. So
I'm gonna stop.
safe to safe to say there are some pretty cool and exciting ideas coming to our other game modes. So I wouldn't be too concerned if I
Lads.
was a player.
To put it as plainly as possible, a lot of the team love playing PvP with each other. Like PvP is like surprisingly a good break and good fun. Like we always play PvP and we're like, fuck yeah, man, our gunplay is really good fun. Like we should put more into this. It's like a byproduct, since we're like a co-op, like story-driven shooter, and the PvP was kind of before my time. A lot of this, so I'm spitballing here, but it's one of those things that's ended up being like really good fun. Players versus developers went fucking anytime. 1v1
Anytime, any
right
day.
now.
Well,
listen.
1v1 me, bro.
On that subject, I'm sure there will be some developer-specific skins that only developers will have, and I can't wait to play against you guys.
Oh, I can't wait to make those.
I can't say anything else.
No, 1v1 I would win.
The day will come
every day.
when we will have the social
Sure about
event
that, Harry, bro?
where the developers will battle the devs, and it'll be glorious. I can't wait.
That would be sick.
And then we get our asses handed to us, and we're just like,
Yeah,
humbled.
that's the depressing part. Like, ah, shit.
Our players are way better than that. Yeah.
Well, they play the game more than we do.
Any chance SCP-98 will be playable in multiplayer? Playable crab monsters?
Can't answer. Shouldn't answer.
Dragon Actual asks or says, Area 12's reception area is my favorite location of the map. Did not expect plants to be a part of the design. A nice touch and a combination of the bright walls. And then Axo asks, how do you make concept art for the game and make it look so modern and just straight eye candy?
A lot of reference. So I've said it before, but I'll say it again. We have two concept artists, Yi and David, that do a lot of our environment stuff. This one's Yi. He does a lot of this in Blender, just like I'm doing now. He's probably done the exact same thing. Whereas he'll probably stop about here and then take some screenshots in that kind of perspective. And then he goes into Photoshop and paints over it to add all these details and lighting. And based on reference that we find of existing buildings and the theme that we want to be in, he starts photo bashing drawing in shadows and lighting and making up signs, all that kind of thing, adding a bit of texture detail to it. Because his is going to be this final image. So this is how he gets there. So he's probably took this, drawn over to get here. Then my job is to take this and go into it for like a game art style of thing. So this is what we'd call a blockout. From here, I've got all the main forms in. I'm pretty happy. It seems to match pretty closely. I don't have the roof in. We already have these pieces made elsewhere, but they're fairly straightforward. Now I need to... What I would do is pull those pieces aside, one by one, and I would detail them each. So when I say detail, we've got a bevel modifier here based on this. This gives us this nice edge here, and using hardened normals, if I get rid of my wireframe, you get that nice curve there, as if there's like a softer edge than there actually is. And that gets nice lighting in-game. He doesn't need to take it that far. Whereas I know a player is going to be like face-to-face with this. And that's the kind of progression of it. Texture and all sorts of other things, unwrapping. Hopefully that answers the question.
Lots and lots of references. I guess since you look at so much horror imagery, what's the grossest thing you've had to look at when referencing for monsters or creepy crawlies or gore graphics?
Can I answer this one? Because I've got an image. Actually, I can put it in the chat for you
God.
guys. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'll show you guys. I got it firsthand. 1 second. 1 second. I've been saving this for a special occasion. Here we go. This is probably the most disturbing thing we've had to look at for reference.
It's Sterling. Is that mid sneeze? Is that what that was?
Yes. Did we not get a new one from GDC?
Oh, we should have made you like take that. You should have made that face in all of our group photos.
That picture is in game somewhere, by the way. I don't know if anyone's ever found it.
Yeah.
You need to shine a light on it.
I think Sterling found it one day finally, or he saw it on someone else's gameplay, and he was.
I just sneaked it into somewhere, and then he was like, "What the fuck, dude?"
He didn't know for so long. I was like, Sterling, it's been in there for like 2 months.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic photo.
Yeah, it's Sterling can answer it. I'd say out of anyone, he's forced to look at the weirdest stuff.
That's a legendary photo with us.
Yeah.
And well, here's a crucial issue: how much has Helldivers 2 affected the productivity of the team in SCP 5K?
I'm playing tonight. I know that.
I hear it's like the game of the moment. I think it would burn my computer, and it's not available on Xbox yet. So I am out of the Helldivers Club. But it seems like everyone's having a fantastic time with it.
It's good. It is good. Sterling, what was the weirdest image you had to look at for doing the gore meshes? Like the one that freaked you out the most.
Aspect.
Okay.
X Reaper has already used it as his profile picture. You know when X Reaper accommodates it and uses it as his profile picture, that's when getting all Avatar Ko the Face Stealer up here.
Yeah, fucking Ko over here.
Yeah. I might have that image that Sterling's talking about. Let me take a look real quick.
Gore meshes were such fun. I mean, I really like gore meshes. I don't know how weird that makes me.
Oh my!
Growing up playing all sorts of games.
Oh my God. We have a gentleman
You
here
did.
named Skyark who says, it was dope seeing you guys at GDC. Looking forward to the next update. Who is this mysterious Skyark? When did he see you?
Is Skyark the one that saw us at the park and ran up to us?
Maybe.
That was a wild time. Someone just like walked up to us and we weren't wearing like Affray stuff at all. They just said, do you guys work at Affray?" And we were like, yes. And they were like, we're one of your Kickstarter backers. We're like, oh my god, thank you. We hugged
That's
them.
awesome.
Thanks to you,
Hell
we
yeah.
have jobs.
Yeah, I can eat. My dogs can eat. My life is complete.
What are the what is the chances of that like you had like what 1,000 2,000 backers for the original Kickstarter,
Oh, I couldn't tell you, but it was a lot.
and just out of the blue you have someone come out and say like hey, I was a Kickstarter back.
Wait a minute.
Oh man, switching to Blender 4 has broke my Quixel bridge. That's really annoying.
I couldn't find the image Sterling was talking about, but I did find this. This was some reference photos I took for 3199 since it was a horror thing and you're having to fight it.
You look truly terrified.
I think that was a cookie jar.
One of my favorite things I looked at, and I didn't directly use it, but was MRI scans of faces. Those are
Yeah, that was a good
horrifying.
one. That was a really good one. I think my favorite part of working on the gore meshes was when you did the severed head,
Mm.
and I was like, that needs a flapping tongue.
Yeah,
Just
was it you who had me add that? Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw it, I was like, nah, dude, you're not getting away without putting a tongue flapping on that.
Dean, this is a question for you. Someone said, you guys seem like the ones to ask. Any tips for making brutalist, eerie concrete structures in Unreal?
Whoa. I say, Kyle would probably be better at answering that than I am.
Mm.
It's not an easy thing to do. It's a mixture of the lighting's a big part, and where you allow the shadows to cast, and what you hide and what you show.
Yeah.
The type of concrete is probably the most important thing, because you can go super clean, but what really makes it feel like more that kind of ambient darkness you're feeling is like that kind of grungy concrete, kind of sterile in some ways. It's kind of off-putting.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
a blend of a couple of things.
Yeah, I agree. I think the lighting is what makes it creepy.
Yeah,
It's
like
more,
this here.
and then, yeah, because if that was well lit, it wouldn't look so bad. It'd look kind of like a nice
Nah.
museum or something. And brutalism, there's so many different styles of it.
Yeah.
Really just do your research on the different kinds that exist, because there are different kinds in different time eras, and how much or how little they actually lend themselves to showing or enhancing, I guess, the utility function of a space versus dressing it up and making it clean and minimalist. But yeah, definitely the lighting.
Lighting's a big part, and like fluorescent lighting is something you don't really think about because fluorescent lighting's everywhere, but it's kind of creepy. And if you like mix that in with like the noise of the bulb kind of like buzzing, like there's so many little elements you can make to make a quite a clean space feel quite spooky.
Axo asks,
a good point there.
what
Sorry, go for it.
references do you usually use for all the concrete architecture main searches for references? I think it kind of like ties into what you were saying, but that is
see.
an interesting point of like what is the brutalist architecture? How do you get that those ugly government buildings?
See, quick old Google search here. Brutalist in itself kind of just has that vibe to begin with. Like a lot of the modern stuff less so, but when you look at the kind of older 70s stuff, it's how would you describe it? It's all about silhouettes, I think. Like when you're looking down a corridor, if you take a corridor as a box, see how quickly I can give this concept. Let's say that's your corridor, and we get rid of that, and we flip those normals. Then inside. So you've got this corridor you're looking through. Pretty straightforward, but when you start throwing in things that really break up that like space and cut off certain angles and make it feel a bit more claustrophobic. Putting like things that force the player's view is another one. So like having those kind of angles you were seeing on that reference. Pretty thin corridor for that, but something like that kind of shape. See a lot of that in this. Like you've got those kind of long pieces. I don't know if I went off on a tangent there. I'm getting pretty tired.
No, I think that's a very good overview in terms of like what. Although we are getting close to 3 hours, so if you want to start like wrapping up, do let me know. You've been fantastic and such a good sport, being able to push through after like working such a long day. So whenever you're like,
I'm still good.
whenever you're ready to like, do let me know, because I do feel bad when it's like must make reception area, but too tired.
Well, I mean, I kind of got a bit of a second win there. Like once Bishop came in and people started asking other questions, I got a bit of freedom to just kind of blast some things out. And you see how quickly I kind of actually got around to doing that now that I'm not answering questions.
True. Well, just always let me know. I always like to make sure the talent is feeling good.
Don't worry.
You're stocked up with green M&Ms, as they say in the Metallica rider. Tacit asks, oh, by the way, have you taken any inspiration from Control 2019? It's a game with very similar setting to the SCP verse, lots of brutalist architecture and the likes.
It is a game that I have not played, but everyone on the team talks about all the time. And I see why. It's definitely a good use. You're seeing a lot of similarities here. Like I haven't played it, and I've seen a couple of screenshots, but as soon as I look here, I'm like, yeah, like you see the resemblance. And brutalist architecture is pretty straightforward. You can't really do anything unique, I think, with brutalist architecture. It's such a weird architecture style. It just kind of is what it is, for lack of better words. But yeah, you're seeing a lot of similarities there.
Well, it always like feels like government, and this is where the big boys go to work.
It's sterile, lack of thought, creativity kind of thing.
Which is great for like oppressive environments and evil organizations.
Yeah, Control is a big one. It's the other thing for me that is a point for any aspiring 3D artists. As much as we use concept art, when you're one of like the cardinal sins of 3D art is to use other people's 3D art as reference.
Really? Because like that's so interesting. Why is that a sin versus I guess, is it like tracing for like drawing when you trace over something?
Not even that. It's looking at other people's 3D art it's good to know, like from a technical standpoint, like what can be achieved. Like often when we're doing characters, we do look at things like Call of Duty, for example, because their characters are really good by our standards. We really like how they do them, but we wouldn't say, oh, we want this specific type of trouser. Oh, Call of Duty has that. Let's just take pictures of the Call of Duty one and then model based on that, because maybe the 3D artist on there was pushed for time. He maybe missed out some stitches. He maybe didn't care so much about that panel of fabric when you compare it to a picture of the real life thing. It's like, what's that game? What's the name for that game when someone says a phrase, passes it on to someone?
Telephone, right?
Passing it down the line. Yeah, it's like that. The more you work from other people's 3D models, the more you're getting that telephone effect where you're losing details as you go. Always start at the source. Look for real life if you're doing photorealism.
Well said. Definitely something that you may not. I never would have thought of it just because I always thought that, like, reference is reference, and if you could see how to build something, then maybe it makes it easier. But I guess maybe it's more stifling than I originally considered.
Yeah, I mean, it's like here, for example. So I've modeled from a model. I can't really take that much farther without going and finding something in real life that is like this and trying to pull real life elements. Like how much there's no such thing in the world as a perfect hard edge. Like this doesn't exist. There's no such thing as a perfect edge. Every edge in the world has like some sort of roundness to it. Like how thick is that bevel? How much is that wood grain affecting it? It's more important than texturing, but what material is this? Like some sort of acrylic? How would they piece that together? Like on this model for concept, it's as I have it here. It's just a mesh dragged out. But is that glued on? Is it held in with screws? How would someone do that in real life? And that's where you need to look for real life reference. Like how did people put that together? And you lose that if you model from models.
Mm. So it just kind of like makes things more plasticky versus like more
It's more
believable.
gamey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're going for photorealism, you're not going to get any better reference than real life. And if you want it to look closer to that, you need to pull from real life. Like he has done exactly what he needs to do as a concept artist here. He gave me the concept, but it's up to me to go find a reference to really make that feel like, how is this piece joined? That wouldn't be one solid piece of wood. That would need to be like a massive like CNC or lathe or something. Like you just couldn't do that. This has to be paneled out somehow and screwed together. And I need to look for those seams and how you would really build that desk. And that's what makes it stop feeling so blocky.
This stuff's gold, guys. People usually pay for this stuff. That's very well said, Dean.
That is a perspective that you don't really see, and but I guess it's what distinguishes the true 3D artists from the people who just want to make asset flips on Steam.
Yeah. It's like I say, 3D is a lot of puzzle solving. I think that's why I was always drawn to it. There's always a problem to be solved. How do you make something look like its real counterpart? And especially in a game sense, how do you then make that function without killing everybody's computer?
What sort of asset would you say you'd make that, like, let's say you wanted to burn everyone's computer down, like, and you wanted to make the most detailed asset, what would that be? Just like a really complex monster with like all...
Nah, polybomb, just the sphere subdivided like 100 times and just throw it somewhere in the level and that's it, game over. You'd never see it. It could be like,
oh man,
I'll kill my computer right now. Watch this.
2 billion A12.
Right, so that sphere. If I view statistics, I don't know how much of a thing this is, but like it's something that's thrown around in the 3D scene quite a bit. Like a disgruntled employee leaves a polybomb somewhere. That's 960 tries.
Let's make that about 900
let's say
million.
I scaled that down by like 100 times. All I need to do, like, that's nothing, you know? You'll never even see that. Like, where did it go? I've lost it. There. So that's 960 tries. All I need to do. That's 4 million tries. That's gonna fuck you up.
That's gonna fuck you up.
If I just stuck that below the floor in a level and it rendered in the computer, like your hardware is forced to render those resources,
So
whether
just
you can see it or not.
hundreds of those little balls. That's what makes a game.
All you need is that one. That's 4 million tries. That one in that room would cause quite a lot of issues.
This almost sounds like a Joker. You know, some people just want
Yeah.
to see the burn down.
Exactly.
Oh,
I could do that to you, any one of you at any point, but I won't.
Just know that.
Don't beat me at PvP. Or
Yeah, you beat me in PvP. Reaper's getting a polybomb.
Who knew just one little tiny thing would be enough to like even the most complex computer can't really handle the polybomb. Sterling seems confident though. My PC would survive.
We've got
Nah,
some
my
questions
PC would
coming.
win.
It's not me. It's a different Sterling.
That's a difference.
Not Sterling sneezing. Oh, it
Do
is.
not be confused.
I thought that was you.
Hold on, someone asked a question I saw. Do you take any inspiration from the game Inside? If it's the one I'm thinking of. I haven't seen this game in a long time.
I think Josie is more inspiration from Inside than 5. Although maybe from an art standpoint, I'm sure there's like some stuff that would be good for 5K.
Yeah, like poly art wise, but like see thematically. Inside is really fucking cool.
Yeah, I
Maybe
like
we
that.
could have
That
pulled a
lighting.
bit more influence from that. Their lighting, like they rely on light and silhouette work. That's what I love about Playdead's
so good.
games. What was the other one they made? It was all silhouette work.
Not that
Oh,
was one of mine.
the
Limbo?
one that came before Inside?
Yeah,
It was Limbo.
Yeah,
Limbo.
Limbo.
Like that's all silhouette work, and it had such depth to it. That game blew me away the first time I saw it. How
Is
to
that
do
all
more
2D?
with less 101. Yeah, it's just all 2D silhouettes, but it does so much.
I remember when that game was like released back when they would have like Xbox Live Summer of Arcade, and that was like one of the premier titles for it. That was like such a nice little golden era where the Xbox would like push out smaller games for their the Summer of Arcade. Sadly, they stopped doing it. I never really understood why.
I have a question to ask myself here. There's probably a better way of doing that, but I'm starting to get a little bit. So these lampposts, I had drawn them red in my initial plan. Could do those kind of modularly, but they probably look nicer if I did a high poly and baked. Yeah, there's enough of them to justify it. Questions?
A lot more work, but dang, it would look cool.
Well, they're simple enough to get away with using like an atlas or a... Like if I'm smart about this.
Oh,
I
that's
could
true.
use,
You did
a
the
trim.
atlases.
I could get a lot out of a trim in this environment. Trim sheets are an interesting thing. We're using a lot more of those these days.
Yeah, you made a whole bunch of those for the new stuff.
Yeah. It's trying to speed up some things, like there's a flow. If there's something like what we call a hero asset, something that's maybe quite large, it's thematically important, it's something the player's going to interact with, like you need to do a high poly, high detail model and bake that down. Whereas for these lampposts, they're definitely not hero assets. They have some intricacies to them that we maybe use for lighting, so they'll probably need an emissive map. Yeah, there's thoughts there. But I could do the emissive on a trim. I could still do that.
So here's a
Could
big
paint it in Substance Painter. Sorry.
Here's a big question for Trey. When is SCP 5K going to join Lifer? Have any of you guys heard of Lifer?
No.
So I keep on getting like advertisements for it. Apparently, it's an app that lets you order food while in game.
All right.
It's
I
pretty
don't
niche.
need that.
This is genius.
Yeah, unfortunately, the nature of Area 12, it's a self-contained location. They have their own internal intranet, radio station. They even provide food and clothing to their people inside. So there's not much outside communication for security purposes. So unfortunately, the cafeteria is down, so there's no food, and there's no ordering food from the outside because, well, self-contained network. Sorry, guys.
You don't want a little pop-up to come
That's a
up?
no for me, dog.
You know, I think people
Check
might
out
be able to
Play-Doh
find some
Games
ice
3.
cream if they look around.
I remember ages ago, people were saying that, like, there was like some sort of app or some way you could order like Domino's pizza from World of Warcraft. I don't know if it ever took off, but I remember thinking it was the most ridiculous thing. And then I see, oh, the idea's back up. Oh yeah, I'm running low on fuel. I can't just tab out and order it. I have to have this little thing in the game.
This is interesting. Can't see much on it. They're expanding their horizons a bit. I'm keen. It's been a while since they released anything Playdead, so. Maybe I can make this. Yeah, why not?
Biltrum Humblegart. I see we have a mutual server for Blight, which is a really cool project on its own. Are you excited about that? What's the thing you're interested in about that? I've always wanted like medieval armor and swords and zombies, and that just like checks all the boxes.
Is that the next Playdead game?
No, it looks he's typing about it right now, but I can't remember the studio name, but it's an indie developer, and it's basically it's The Walking Dead but minus guns and in the Dark Ages.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Just a quick note, Isaac. When I did something there, it showed my downloads folder, and there's some things in there that I.
Oh, all right. Let's see.
Just,
it is.
no, major.
Thank you for the heads up.
In case.
All right, so it's like 3:11, so I'll know when to look for it.
Just in case. I don't think there's anything like serious there, but
I can scrub that out.
I'm excited for that new tiny build game where it's basically Army of Darkness, but as a game. What's the name of that one
Ooh,
again?
I'll have to check that one.
I can't remember the name of it. Gave me a good laugh when I saw their trailer though, because you're just fighting this army until like a time traveling truck bursts through and just runs over a bunch of knights on horses. Kingmakers, that was it.
Was that the Dino Lords game? I feel like I saw some trailer for like some RTS game where it's like medieval, but the key difference is that like the knights ride dinosaurs.
No.
Oh. No, I did see a trailer recently for like some samurai style dinosaurs where like their skin and their scales and stuff kind of form armor like things that resemble samurai armor. I forget what that was
That's
called. Looked pretty cool.
Kingmakers is like medieval with like grenade launchers.
Yeah, Kingmakers is about a time traveling. You play as a time traveler.
Oh, that's why.
And it's an RTS where you're guiding an army in medieval times, but you have modern weapons.
So I'm wondering why he had a Gucci AK on his back.
Yeah, and there's like attack helicopters and pickup trucks you can drive.
We have heard of Beautiful Light, as it so happens. Dean can probably think about that.
Yeah,
but here's
actually,
that trailer for here's that dinosaur thing I was talking about. But yeah, Beautiful Light. What about it?
Oh, looks beautiful.
A couple of people in the team actually work for Beautiful Light. I've done some as well.
Oh wow, I love the style of this Dino game.
Is it like the Dino fighting game? It feels like I feel like I've seen it before.
It's like a
There's no gameplay here, but it's gorgeous.
What's
what's
a
that
neon?
Ghost? It's like Ghost of Tsushima, but you're dinosaurs.
In a neon city.
It doesn't have a release date though, right?
I don't think so.
Here's a fun thing. Get going. Get going.
I'm fairly certain quite a few people on the team like GTFO.
I haven't played it yet, man.
Me either.
I
I don't
really
know
wanted to,
why,
and my
though.
friends got it, so
I think that's probably why, but I was hyped for it, but there was just something about it when I saw gameplay that just didn't pull me towards it. Probably fun as shit, but
it's
like you
because you're
said,
old,
no
John.
one's got it. Yeah, that's probably why.
wow.
Oh no, I'm not going to even deny that.
Wait,
I'm gonna
I
go back to
prefer
play
games
my.
where
I'm gonna
you,
go
where you
play my
I prefer games
SNES.
where you hop from floating platform to floating platform. I'm too old for this shit.
Brother
I'm gonna play my
Emilius.
Sega.
I'll give you 4-wheel drive, man.
Brother Emilius has a very important question. What is your favorite dinosaur?
T-Rex, man. I'm a basic bitch.
I-
And I play the shit ton of Dino Crisis, so you know.
I really liked Stegosaurus.
Hmm. I have a few different ones.
Carnosaurus
Allosaurus.
is pretty good.
I think Allosaurus is pretty cool because I feel like it's bigger than the raptors, but it's smaller than a T-Rex. It'd be like the most vicious version of the predators because it's a little bit more agile and it can fit in more places. But I really, really, really like the Dunkleostes, that fish with like the armor plating on its head. It's such a
Ooh.
cool fucking design.
The Loch Ness Monster King.
It's Plesiosaur. Yes.
By any chance,
There we go, that table
well,
was
I
nice
mean,
and
this
quick.
would be really pertinent to all the 3D artists here, right? We have gathered tonight. But has anyone here ever seen Prehistoric Planet?
Great.
Nope.
I would highly recommend it if you have not seen it yet. Basically, it's like a David Attenborough documentary, but it is basically with CGI dinosaurs, and it's like, the idea is that like this is what the planet looked like, but it's supposed to feel like a documentary, like you're actually there with the most up to date science. So if you just want to like sit back, chill, and watch dinosaurs just like walk around and do dinosaur things, I could not recommend anything more. Unless you want to have your perception of the T-Rex ruined because they do the feathered T-Rex, the controversial feathered T-Rex.
The big birdie one.
Yeah. Ruined everyone's favorite version of the Jurassic Park T-Rex.
Dino Crisis has got a lot to answer for. That's why T-Rex has always been my favorite. It was that the noise it used to make in Dino Crisis, man. I love that roar.
Dino Crisis 1 or 2, though, since
One.
they play very differently.
Yeah, 1. I love 2, but 1 is just something else.
Such a shame that they never brought it back, or Capcom never tried to revive that series.
They might yet.
Hmm.
They might yet.
I saw an indie team making a Resident Evil type game where the enemies are dinosaurs.
There's so many.
I forget the name of it though. I need to find the name of it.
Well, speaking of dinosaurs, anyone here ever tried playing Exoprimal?
Man, that's another Capcom game, isn't it?
Yep.
This was one they baited everyone with, and they showed like a red-headed character, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's Regina, let's fucking go!" And then the game came out, and everyone, fuck.
Yeah, exactly. They baited everyone. You don't play. It's a crisis of dinosaurs. You fight a lot of dinosaurs, but you fight them in like these weird Overwatch mech suits. I've heard some interesting things about
That
it.
was pretty cool. But...
I've seen that one.
But I guess
Interesting mech designs. Their mechs have muscles, right? Very interesting.
To me, I just thought it was like such a weird thing. Like, you know, this AAA developer. It's like, what does the West like? Let's give them robots, and then have them and then have them fight dinosaurs. This is what the gamers of America need.
Are there any games that have robot dinosaurs?
Final Crisis 3, we don't talk about that one.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
No. Good games. I guess Horizon Zero Dawn would be the closest, wouldn't it?
I think that's like the only one that has
They're
like
like
robot
dinosaur-like. They're not actually dinosaur in design, I guess.
They're very like in designs, like ambiguous droid, quadrupedal.
Bitslum Bumbligar asks, did Wolf work on animations of the guns in 5K? I know we've got a lot of gun animations. Anders is like the king of Anders and Samir are like the king of gun animations. But Dean, have you ever done them yourselves, or are you kind of like doing more environmental stuff and just oversee them?
I have not. No. I'm not part of the animation team. Talked about maybe doing one or two before, but there's so many other things to do that are more of a priority than play around with animation. It's been a long time since I animated a gun. The only thing I've added to animations here is reference footage. If you want to look at weapon animations, Anders is your guy.
well, I'm sure we'll have him on here next soon. Maybe I'll see if I can get him before the month is out to come on and model those gun reload animations.
I think it might be 17 next Thursday.
I still want to do that sculpting stream. It's got to figure out a time.
Yeah, I was trying to get you for so long to have you, and you're like, I've got classes, I've got other things to do. I was like, I got to get the guy who has the alien profile. I remember that comic. You a big Alien Xenomorph fan, Samir or Sterling?
I love Xenomorphs. They're so versatile in design. My favorite thing about them is so many interpretations of them from artists.
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
Coming out soon, man.
What's your favorite Xenomorph and least favorite Xenomorph design?
Oh man, that's hard because they're all pretty good, to me at least.
Oh come on, you like the human
Xenomorphs looking at me.
You got the human. You like the human alien hybrid from Alien Resurrection?
That one's gnarly.
Yeah, it's sick.
I love watching it get sucked out the window.
The practical effects.
Yeah. So cool.
When it comes to Xenomorphs, I really like some of the skin textures that they had for Alien 3. Some of the Xeno, like the dogs. They had some interesting texturing work. But 2 probably has some of the most striking designs for me in Alien 2.
Are you guys looking forward to the new, was it Romulus?
Yes.
Yeah, dude, I'm fucking
absolutely
for that.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited.
In August, right?
See some fresh blood into that franchise.
Not this month, like I thought it was.
Yeah, Dean got me excited, and he was excited. Then we were both disappointed because he thought it was this month, and I was like, "Oh, it is this month. I thought it was further." And then we found
April
out
and August, when I always read them the wrong way around. Same as June and July.
They're not even spelled the same.
It's not the point. They start with the same letter.
Yo, get me in on this excitement. Come on. Apparently, they showed some scenes at the CinemaCon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, practical face huggers.
Ooh.
Yeah. I heard that they were doing as much practical effects for this as they could. Like they were trying to avoid using CG.
They'll still use some CG, but yeah.
Oh yeah, but I mean they're not relying on it is the thing, which is just the only problem. Like CG's fine, it's like too heavily relied on, and everything's always too clean and too like clear. They just need to stop doing that.
Yeah. I was talking to Lauren about this the other night, my partner. We were talking about how like the original Alien still holds up today because of the practical effects.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's because the imperfection makes it feel. Yeah, imperfection makes it feel more real.
Where CG usually everything is too perfect, and even though it's correct, right? Technically,
Mm.
it's so perfect that in the back of your mind, without realizing it, your brain is registering this does not. This is wrong because it is too correct, right?
Yeah, it's too perfect. There's one that still upsets me, and it's The Thing, the prequel.
Mm,
Which one?
mm.
Prometheus or
was-
Covenant?
No, The Thing.
They did a
John
prequel to it in
Carpenter's The
like
Thing. Yeah,
2011, right?
Yeah,
yeah. The
the thing
original
prequel.
still holds up today because of all the practical effects. Like it's
Oh,
fucking
God.
amazing.
Oh my
They
And
god.
then they did the
great.
prequel, and they did all the practical effects. They had all of these fucking animatronics that were built that were phenomenal. And then in post, it was pretty much a case of cover it in CG,
Yeah,
and
that
it
was
was crying
executive
shame, man.
executive committee meddling. That's exactly what
Yeah,
that was.
killing
That
it.
hurts me. It hurts me to this day. You
Making
know
it
what hurts me
nostalgia.
even more, Dean? That
What?
was over 10 years ago.
Oh, good God, why'd you do that?
Oh,
I keep thinking, oh, this new movie. Oh, no.
No.
Don't worry, they'll make another one soon, I'm sure.
Dean.
Hmm.
In like 5-ish years, it'll be 20 years ago.
oh man,
Why are you doing this?
I remember going to New York Comic Con and they were like, we're so excited, we can't wait, we're doing the practical effects, we really love the thing. It's like building a puzzle, and I was like trying to like, oh, I'm excited, I really want a new Thing movie. But yeah, I was also like devastated when I saw the actual movie. Well, supposedly it had a resurgence when it came on to Netflix, and for like a little while it was like the #1 streaming movie on Netflix.
That's a question. I like that reply. It's Dwayne the Pebble Johnson.
Have you seen that?
Speaking.
Sorry, real quick. Dean, have you seen the image of Dwayne the Rock Johnson he's wearing like a black turtleneck, he's got a gold chain, a fanny pack, and he's got his elbow resting on a rail with a tissue under his elbow. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
We should, somewhere in the game hidden, we should have a rock that's got a tissue under one corner of it. It's got a gold chain on and like a turtleneck.
You're killing me, but yeah, we should do it.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Model that.
Put a fanny pack around a rock and have a tissue under one corner. That'd be great.
Yeah.
See if
Make a
anybody gets
robot
it.
for it.
Didn't he also
What were you
have
gonna
that?
say, Sterling?
Oh, yeah, finish your thought.
I was just gonna agree with you when go around back to what you were saying about like films having a lot of like effects that are too perfect and clean and everything. I feel that for every single aspect of filmmaking nowadays.
Yeah.
I feel like it's
Mm.
too perfect, it's too clean.
It's
Let people
sterile.
stumble in their dialogue,
Yeah.
make it feel real.
One of the big things for me is the actor's response.
Mm.
Like, there's a massive difference from having Sigourney Weaver looking face to face with an animatronic of the alien to a tennis ball.
Oh yeah, I like to reference the original Jurassic Park for a lot of reasons, but
Mm-hmm.
the scene where the T-Rex head goes through the top window of the car, that wasn't supposed to happen. So the kid's reaction was pretty authentic. I'm not saying we should do that all the time, but like
Kids get
I-
trauma.
broken window or not, I'm pretty sure their reactions to seeing a physical thing there in the rain looking at them through the windows was probably way more authentic than if they were just told to pretend.
Take it easy, Belgium. Bye-bye.
It's always wonderful when you have those like happy accidents. They kind of like create movie magic.
Spielberg, are you guys okay? Yeah, we're good. That was great.
We've got some questions here. I can't read the names because I get streamer mode enabled, but someone asks, I spent a lot of time missing. Well, what was it? Sorry.
Oh, Tess had an interesting question. Just got back now. Do you know what you want to make with meshes and what needs its own separate model?
Well, I mean, pretty much anything you're gonna look at in this game needs a model. I'm not sure how best.
It depends on what it's being used for, I think.
Yeah. When you say make with meshes, I wonder if you mean like assets.
I think we're about to get some clarification. Yeah, sorry, I should have been.
So you mean assets? Yeah. Yeah, it depends on, is it thematically important? Is it something the player's going to interact with? Is it what we'd call a hero prop? So things like buckets, dustbins, pipes, Rubbish on the floor. Your really basic set dressing props. Like we can asset those. No one's going to be looking at those that closely. But it was the same thing I said in the dev blog, the old meme, chair is a chair. It's without those things, the space feels empty, so you need them. But why? Say I tasked John of make me a bucket. It's a really small prop. That's probably to grab some reference to do a high poly, low poly, unwrap, bake texture. That's probably at least a day, 2 at a push, out of his working day, out of his working time. So I could go onto CG Trader, find someone who's already made a bucket that I'm happy with the quality of. It's probably like $5. Buy that, process it in a couple of hours, give it a nice fancy texture, and push it out the door. It saves a lot of time. There's other things that are more important to be made, like characters and guns and creatures. We'd rather put that time there.
Yeah, and who's gonna notice like a pail? A pail's a
Aye.
pail. Chair's a chair.
Exactly. Someone else asked, can I ask how you guys did your rock kits? I am a rock enjoyer. Those are all Quixel. That's another one of those things that, again, answers that same question. It's a rock. Rocks are quite detailed in a lot of ways, and you could spend quite a lot of time sculpting a rock, but Quixel offers you a whole bunch of scanned ones. Like they're real life, they're taken with cameras in real life. Often their topology is a bit messy. Like we're not always happy with their topology, but that's where we come in, where we'd remake a new mesh for it that's a bit more optimized and then bake that detail in.
Yeah, and that comes down to like what's needed for the project, because
Yeah.
you've got 2 kinds of rocks you can make for a game, because you can have a stylized game or you can have a realistic
Mhm.
game. We have a realistic game. There are people that are specializing in doing like specific environment things. Like there's foliage artists for 3D, there's rock artists for 3D, believe it or not,
Yeah.
that do just rocks. But we're not looking for stylized things. So if real rocks exist, why reinvent the wheel again, like Dean said?
There's a perfect example in here, actually. You see this open rock face. So that's going to be a fun one. That is not something we can easily make with assets because they're not built to what we need for that. So that's a bit of an interesting one. That's something that seems quite simple. Now we could do that with a texture, but it lacks depth if we use a flat plane and put a texture on it. So there's 2 ways we could go about it. If we assume, get the old pen out again.
Sorry to interrupt, but I have to dip out, guys.
No worries.
You have a good weekend.
Take it easy, man.
Thank you for
Yeah.
coming in and hanging out with us.
Anytime, man. You guys have a good one.
Let it be known I'm awake longer than you. Ha! I win. I don't. I'm really tired. If we assume that's 2 meters by 2 meters there, we can make some sort of tiling piece of that open rock face using assets, place them around, give it a bit of depth, like it's got something to it, so it'll actually cast some shadow with the lighting, and find a way to just tile that piece. Probably the safest bet. That brings in a whole other set of issues because any verts here need to align with what's up here so that it tiles, and same on this side. So you're best to make like that much of it, and then use a mirror, and that guarantees that whoever's on this side will be the same on this, and same. That's how I would approach that. There you go. There's no like concrete rule we have for what's an asset and what's not. It's kind of just case by case basis. What can we get away with and what really needs the love?
You know what, Dino? Looks like lots of people are starting to head out. Maybe it's time for you to head out.
Yeah,
It's been
it
a long
probably
stream.
is, dude. It has been. I've had fun though. I honestly, I've said this before. If I had no responsibilities, man, I would just keep going all day long.
Well, thank you for everyone who is came in. We did have one little question that came in. How do you make the posters for the game make the title look gritty with some blood splatter in it? I've always wondered how horror games have that old gritty title, like an SCP Containment Breach.
Do you mean
I guess maybe you think of like
posters?
in-game posters is what he means, like posters in the like in the environment when you're like in Area 12 and you see like an environment poster.
That is 2D art. For 3D art, it's really simple. It's just a plane. And then 2D art makes the poster, and we project that as a texture onto the mesh.
Oh,
So all that, it's like a graphic design job that's separate from what I do.
see, so there you go. The tricks of the trade, very mysterious. And then you have it revealed. It's much simpler than some of the other stuff. But thank you for staying up, and I hope you get a good rest.
Yeah, probably not. My dog's going to wake me up at 6 a.m. Guaranteed. Which is probably why I shouldn't have stayed up so late. It just cascades, but I'll be alright.
A few more quick questions. Regular Clone Trooper asks quick questions. Do you guys have any plans to bring other MTF units into SCP-5K?
Can't say.
Trey, do you want to remain silent, or any response to the other MTF units?
Other MTF units in the game. Where's that question at? Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Could you repeat it?
Okay. Quick question. Do you guys have any other plans to bring other MTF units into SCP-5K?
Kind of.
Kind of.
That's a big, solid kind of.
Ooh, exciting.
That's a good one there in Discord.
Just wait to see it. All right, this
Any
has been...
possible GOC... Sorry, I'll just answer that last one. Any possible GOC involvement in the game? Yes. Yes, get ready in 2 weeks.
Ooh. So something big's cooking. Look for it. Well, thank you.
The Bruno watched the devlog.
Well,
we've actually released an image of it.
Thank you so much for everyone who came out tonight to hang out and watch Dean battle sleepiness to continue to make wonderful 3D assets for this game. Thank you for the for Sterling, to John, to Trey for coming in and hanging out. I always love the impromptu people popping in to say hello. And stay tuned to see the results of our incredible speedrun contest. And look, keep your eyes peeled for more events coming. We've got one coming this Monday with meme stream with the artist Ashley for Josie. And more events into the future. And of course, buy the SCP-173B plush if you don't have it. Oh my God, we are 143% funded with 3 days to go. You gotta get more of those. Come on, how much higher can we push it? How many more homes can this monstrosity infest? That's all up to you. Get them out, spread them out. Make sure that this little guy is terrorizing all your Funko Pops and any other collectibles you have.
All right.
And yeah.
Hell yeah.
I guess
Sleepy
I will one note, Trey, if you can poke Al Barney, apparently the YouTube Google AdSense needs to be re-verified again. We need to get those super chats enabled. I had a meme going of like, the Piper's Children's McDonald's Fund. And I can't do the meme.
Got it. Yeah, I'll let him know. Thanks.
Yeah, so give your final thoughts, and then we will wrap things up.
Final thoughts is that I am sleepy. There's not much thought going on at the moment. That came on quick. I'm starting to crash.
Final thoughts are let the 3D artists sleep so they can finish making stuff for the update.
Yeah. I mean, we met our deadline. We're good. We're making stuff for the next one.
Sterling, any final thoughts? Any xenomorph dreams to leave the fine people with?
Well, I think I'm gonna keep doing my best to be a dev on SCP-5.
I was waiting for that. Did you know?
All right.
But yeah, no. Cheers for keeping it running, Isaac. Thanking you.
Of course, it was a pleasure. And all right.
Thanks for letting me crash the party. See you guys later.
With
Yeah,
that,
I'm gonna go sleep.
I bid you adieu. Sweet dreams to Dean, and stay tuned for more updates and more SCP 5K news. And I hope you have